to, I know we had the discussion about Seth's amendment to his contract, which we did confirm is posted. Is it worth separating these out and
Yeah, we can do
approve
that.
and release? Do we have to have that separated out before we do, or can we
You can
approve?
just include that language in your motion,
motion,
and then
okay.
after the fact, I'll make sure I separate them.
Okay, all right, so we have the two topics in here, any concerns, questions?
Just for clarification, we're gonna separate out the acting town administrator contract to release that part
Correct.
and approve but hold release of the proposed contract for treasurer collector.
That's correct,
Okay.
yes. Thank you.
I was gonna make that motion, so I will make that motion then. How about that?
All right, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Alex?
Correct. Second I.
Whitman, aye.
That's it.
And Ledger, aye. All right, thank you, everybody.
And sorry, just for, Tamika, I think that this was probably just because they were kind of similar, but can we try to keep them separate just by subject? So that way if we have again that we wanna separate some and not, then Sure. it's not a bigger deal.
Yep.
The board's amenable to that, I think.
Thank you. All right, we will move into public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment? Name and address, please, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lou Carnicoli, 18 Blueberry Lane, my last time talking about the flagpole. So here we go, summing it up. First of all, I want to thank those members of the board who showed up on Saturday. I thought it was a pretty nice little ceremony. If you haven't seen the flagpole at night, when you leave here tonight, drive by and take a look at it. That light, it's really magnificent. Great job. The light and the flag itself were donated by a family here in Rutland who wants to remain, is the term anonymous?
Anonymous.
Yeah, they want to remain anonymous. All the rest, I have paid all our bills, and we should have a few dollars left. I don't know exactly, maybe $400 that can go into a flagpole fund or flags or whatever. But there was some money left over, so we did okay. I raised around $12,000. We expended most of it. The flag was around 68, the plaque was around 46, 44, something like 46, I think. And then other incidental things, but we had enough money. We had tremendous amount of volunteers. I've mentioned these people before. Without them, I'd still be wondering what I was doing out there. And it's really have to shout out to Mark Sinkowitz, who organized a lot of stuff. Derek Carlson, a former resident of our town, a great kid. I've known him since he was a little pup. And he did a great job getting the pole up in the air. That was probably the best day of the year. When we had the crane come up and we put the pole up in the air, that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that day. Again, this young lady right here to my left, invaluable. We're very blessed to have her a part of our community. So everything went very well. So now, just very quickly, I have an idea for two other projects. So here's the first one, okay? I was here the day that they rededicated the Civil War statue. If you remember, those of you who've been around a while, Tommy, correct me if I'm wrong, the original statue was knocked over with a hurricane, right?
I think
And
so,
it took a number of years to finally get it back, and we're all uptown ready for the big ceremony, and it was raining like crazy, so we went into Naquag, and we never really saw the thing go up on the pole. But anyway, the next day, there it was. So it's now dirty. It's been probably over 20 years since that was erected. I think it was back in the 80s. So I started to look into how do you clean those statues, because you've got to be very careful, because the material it's made out of, you could damage. And so one of the co-owners, the son-in-laws, Dunkin' Donuts across the street, who was in the construction business, looked into it for me. We were having coffee this morning, and he started looking into things, and it can be done. And so when I brought, I had to come back to your office today to submit a bill to Tamika, and I told her about the project, and she came up with a great idea. As long as I have your permission, I won't do this unless you guys vote this, go ahead and do it, Lou. That I know during my time as selectman, I went to at least 4 or 5 in my 9 years, Eagle Scout ceremonies. And an Eagle Scout has to do a project. And wouldn't that be a great project to put in the ear of someone potentially wanting to be an Eagle Scout, that they clean on our upper and lower common those monuments and things that may have a little dirt in it. It could be an idea, or we could do it another way, but I don't think it'd be that expensive to. In fact, I was told the best thing is white vinegar and water, 1-to-1. Wash it down with that, then hose it off. So it's just a matter of putting a staging up. The second project that I'd like to confront you guys with, and it's going to be a little bit more detailed, but it shouldn't be that costly to the town. There has been talk about the beautiful bandstand that the Blair family built in honor of my old friend Clee, but it needs to have some finishing touches. Have wiring under the roof so we can have lights in there, put a ceiling in eventually, and there was a number of people who would like to see between the post railings. So, when you look around this beautiful room that we're in right here, this was constructed by the kids in the different shops over at the Volk School. So what I would like is your permission, if you see, just to get the ball rolling, and with your permission, I would make an appointment with the head of the vocational people over there, go over and talk to this person, and talk to him about the project, putting railings in, eventually a ceiling, and electrical. They have, there were kids studying electrical, there were kids who were carpenters. I'm assuming that, like for the railing, they could build that on site at the school and just deliver it, come here and tack the thing on. So that would complete, and I think we could be okay too with getting the materials, because Mr. Blair was the person who built the thing. We could probably get a real discount on material needed to finish the project. So those are two ideas I have at your behest if you'd like to do it. If you don't, no problem. I can find other things to keep me busy. But my wife likes me to be busy and out of the house. So if you want me to do them, I'll do them. Anyway, I had a lot of fun doing the poll. I won't be here 77 years from now. Maybe some of you will when they do the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good job. I'm glad I did that.
Is there anybody else here for public comment? Okay. Do we have Vadar? Is this the rep?
That is, yep,
Okay,
that's
excellent.
from Vadar.
Before we do that, Darren, did you wanna open your A meeting?
We can, yes, I'll open the finance committee meeting right now. At 6:11.
Alright, so we have, I'm going to, if the board's amenable, since we have the representative here, move down to the, Vadar demonstration and discussion to let them give the demonstration and, exit the meeting when they don't have to sit through everything. So Vadar is the software that we currently use for our, financial work, and we do currently have, several licenses already. A lot of this discussion and the demonstration kind of came out of the public safety likely needing new financial software, probably before the end of this fiscal year. So we thought it was a good opportunity to reach out to Vadar, see what we were already paying for, what we were not utilizing that we were already paying for, and just see how that can help improve efficiencies and process, and also look into potentially extending the number of licenses to cover public safety and any other staff that would benefit from having those. Is there anything that I?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, so we have Ted here from Vadar, and I believe you're gonna do a little bit of a demonstration of the features and options that we already are essentially paying for, that we just wanna see what they can do, and how we can take advantage of them.
Sure, great. Would you like me to get right into it?
Yeah, nice, I think we're good.
Fantastic. So, I'd just like to thank everybody and for your time tonight. And I know that, and I want to be respectful of your time. So, does 20 minutes sound like a reasonable amount of time to talk about some of this functionality that we have in the system that we can sort of offer as far as expanding the services with you?
Yeah, I think that would be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So just as a as a start and introduction, again, my name's Ted Cormier. I'm from Vadar Systems. I'm one of the founding partners and owners, and I'm the director of client services. And what I'm going to do to begin here is let me share my screen. And what you should see now is you should see the accounting main menu. Okay. As far as the sort of the additional functionality of the system, and mainly what we would typify or call an expansion, okay, of use of the system. Number one being purchasing, okay, so that covers things like requisitions, purchase orders, and ultimately the capability of being able to encumber funds, okay, reserve funds that are then essentially posted to in the system budget lines, okay, for then users in the town to see not only the budget activity, but also again that were those reserved encumbered amounts that impact your ending balances, okay. And then the other aspect, okay, is and it does sort of bleed into the purchasing in the purchase order and requisition functionality being what we term departmental access. Okay, so it's a limited access as well as system use. Okay. Of users outside of the finance department, specifically. So Donna Couture's office, okay, and the options as far as use and access, okay, there are a number of areas, all right, which I'd like to show you, sort of how that works and what the capabilities are. Before I get started, any questions?
Nothing, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
If you do have any questions as I'm speaking,
I'm sorry,
okay.
did you have one quick question? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Maybe again, could you simplify it? Which of those programs are we using now? And
Right. So you're using the ledger setup is the chart of accounts. Okay. The accounts payable, that is the portion of the system to create warrants and run payments, checks, things like that. Okay, that's being used. Accounts receivable is the processing of payments in the system. Journal entries, okay, those are adjustments. All right, that's being used. Miscellaneous processes, those are just some of the other end of year processes, things like that. I'm going to be speaking to the reporting capabilities that, again, the sort of the outside, the departments can take advantage of. There's an accounts payable portion where departmental access bills can be entered and submitted electronically to the finance office directly so that they do not need to do the entry. All right. They can then review, they can reconcile against invoices, and then add to a warrant electronically. Budgeting. All right. The town may not be using the budgeting module, but I do want to speak to, the budgeting as part of this today, because there is a departmental access that can be utilized for departments to enter in initial requests. Okay, for the preparation of a budget. And then finally, again, what the town is not using is the purchasing module here, which includes requisitions and purchase orders, which again, ultimately encumber funds to line items to reserve against the ending balance for, any affected accounts. So those are the areas of the system. So I'm gonna go through and show you the purchasing that you're not using. Okay, the accounts payable, again, what we call that remote access, departmental entry of bills and submission to finance. The reporting, which is again a reporting accessibility by departments so that they can run reports on their own accounts. from anywhere from summary, budget to actual, variance reports to detailed transactions, okay, in the system, again, affecting their accounts. And then finally, the budgeting, portion. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
I got one question.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe from discussions, there are features of this we pay for but do not use. If that's the case, will you let us know which ones those are?
Yeah, I other than the budgeting, meaning that from a system standpoint, okay, normal day-to-day operations, all right, likely include all of these areas in the finance department, okay, other than the budgeting, which, some clients use, some don't use it. I'm not sure if Rutland has been using it or not. Okay, those are the things that you're already paying for, and again, when you maybe the budgeting is purchasing and remote department access, which is mainly what I wanted to cover and show you today. Those are term add-ons, okay, as far as and we've got a quote for you as far as what the additional cost for these things.
Thank you.
So what I'd like to do is just briefly start, okay, because I want you to see that, from a system standpoint, in a maintenance standpoint by user, okay, it's all controlled by, like, usually the finance office, okay, Donna, who's the system administrator, okay, control maintenance, the users access to the system with a capability of being able to at any time inactivate a user's access. So again, you don't have to call Vadar systems as far as somebody leaves or something happens. You've got full access maintenance capability there. And then the two sort of aspects of user security in the system, particularly for what we would term, again, the remote access, the departments, okay? The first is user security here, okay? Where on a per user basis, if I just select a user, all right, what can be maintained by, again, the system administrator is by area, all right, whether or not a particular user has access or what level of access they have. Okay, so this allows for a very targeted and specific definition, okay, as far as a user's access in the system, where users can only get to where they should be going, okay, and doing what they should be able to do when they get there. Again, all fully maintained system administrator. And then the second aspect of that user experience in the system, not only where can you go and what can you do when you get there, but what is also maintainable is what we term user access or user account security, I should say. Okay, so this is now defining on a per user basis, okay, what accounts a user has access to. Okay, so now users, where can they go? What can they do when they get there? And then for reporting, for purchase order, requisition entry, for AP bills, paying bills, okay, they're going to be limited to, okay, and defined for only a certain set of accounts, and they only have access to those accounts, okay? Budgeting, okay, is another example. So by being able to define here on a per user basis, okay, again, those users can only see, use, and have access to whatever's defined for accounts in this area. So just, I wanted you to see, because, it'll become apparent. My Vadar user here, all right, right now only has access to the IT expense accounts, that defined group system. So that set of accounts. So what happens now, okay, is if we were to go into purchasing, for instance, okay, here in purchasing, you've got a capability, okay, of having users either enter in requisitions that are then submitted and turned into purchase orders by, maybe a department head or the finance office or, whomever you deem, okay? As well as on top of that, you've got a capability here, if I go back out to administration, to set up a all right. So approval levels can be, one or more, okay, defined levels by users who do entry, and then the users who are, deemed or authorized to approve those entries. Okay. So for instance, maybe if you want to set up approval levels by department, okay, we would here, okay, different levels by either requisitions or purchase orders. And then by department, that is. And then what can happen is you can assign approvees, okay, to specific levels. All right. Those are the people doing the entry, and then assign approvers to those levels. And so as a result, the approvees will do the entry, they'll submit their entries, then approvers will be able to go in and they would see entries for their level, be able to review and approve those and go through the line, ultimately, either through purchase orders directly, purchase orders and an approval, or requisitions and approval to purchase orders. So there's a lot of flexibility in a dynamic, or has a capability of a dynamic setup as far as the flow of these things.
I have a quick question.
So, yes.
For the approver, or the approvee approver relationship, can you set a dollar, like a minimum or a dollar threshold for which the needs approval? Like, I know from my work, like purchase orders under $1,000 don't require approval or through an additional approval system.
Yep. Yeah. No, I understand. Right now, we don't have a dollar threshold for that. Okay. So what would happen is all entries at an approval level would go through the same path, for instance.
Thank you.
So let me show you just briefly in purchasing. Okay. Purchasing broken up, requisitions and purchase orders. This is a decentralized entry. It's a one-time entry, no matter where it's entered, flow electronically through the proper channels. Okay. Let's get a requisition in, and then I give a piece of paper to somebody, and then they have to enter it. It's none of that. Okay. We're gonna enter in a requisition here. So in the requisition path and menu, we come down. Okay. We're gonna start in maintenance. New. And got a couple of different tabs that provide the all the data points here for a requisition. So we're gonna select a vendor. Automatically, the vendor information populates from the vendor. We've got a requisition auto number. Okay, requisition date. We can comment any requisition here. We can also, and you'll see this true here, requisitions and purchases, accounts payable, so bill entry, okay, paying bills. For the finance office, the vendor card, okay. We've got a capability of attaching documents. So in this case, for instance, maybe somebody's entering in a requisition here and they want to attach an itemized list or correspondence or something that's related to requisition that attach, okay, and be processed, okay, with it. So what that can be is any PDF, okay, or image file, a GIF, a JPEG, what have you. All right. All they need to be is staged in the user's directory. You can come down. My preview pane open here. I can see based upon selection what I'm going to attach. So attach this guy here. We'll default we can rename it, to, you know, anything we're gonna confirm that. What we have is, we've got a document, we could attach another document, so we could do multiple documents, but we've got a file or document now attached with this entry. Next step here is distributions. All right, so you know, this is the purchase order distribution itself. We've got a quantity, we've got an item, which might be a line item, an order number, what have you. Okay, we've just got the per item amount. Automatically, based upon the quantity, we'll calculate the extended cost. And now I choose my account that I'm going to encumber the funds out of. I want to point out here that we only see Department 155 accounts because that's all I have access to. Okay.
What happens if somebody?
Save my entry down. Yes.
What happens if somebody's putting in this and the vendor's not set up in the system? Can the user set up the vendor, or does finance have to set it up?
Finance needs to set it up. Okay. And the reason for that is, you know, it's best to control, you know, ensure there aren't duplicates of the same vendor. Okay. And then also that, you know, all of the necessary vendor information is part of the entry. Okay. So, you know, that's something that typically finance does and has the security to do. And then it's immediately accessible, you know, for all of the entry areas, that we're seeing.
Okay.
Another question.
Sure.
And I don't know how it happens here in like municipal government, but is there ever an opportunity, or is it possible to split payment across multiple accounts? Like if, say, DPW is paying some of a bill and public safety is paying another and library is paying some, is there a way to split the percentages across numerous accounts?
Yes, absolutely is. Okay. So this is sort of the next thing I wanted to show you here is, this is multi-line item capable as well. Okay. So I can just enter another line here. And, you know, again, this could be 210, could be the police. Okay. So yes, you could apply a purchase order across a number of accounts, but because that's done, okay, you know, based upon the cost will then impact that, okay, in line items for whatever those amounts are.
But I guess, sorry if maybe my question wasn't very clear, but if I'm a user, say I'm just gonna say I'm a library user, and I have access to the library accounts, but it's a bill that part comes out of some library line items, part comes out of other departmental line items. I don't know, does this happen in town or not? Like from I'm thinking like legal or utilities or anything like that. Is there a way that like, say we get a legal bill and it's spread across 3 different departments, that they wouldn't have access to each of their own, but they need to be able to put in their purchase order, or would that just go through town administrator?
Yeah, or the finance office. That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Typically, and that I, you know, again, and I don't want to speak to, you know, you guys and your processes and experience and whatnot, but you know, that's something that in my estimation would be a very rare, you know, occurrence. Okay. But again, you know, when it does happen though, you know, likely that'd be something that the finance department would enter and process. But you see the result though, okay, impacts each individual department, and they would see that impact in their budget, their bills payable, things like that.
In real time versus the delay or whatever.
That well, once this gets posted, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it real time impacts. So as soon as as soon as it's posted and encumbered, okay, they'll see it in the budget, they'll see it in the accounts payable, okay, as far as these lines. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we've got a shipping address, okay? This can default bill to, ship to on a per user basis. You've got maybe DPW items going one place, town hall, to town hall, based upon the user though, that can be set up. So we're just gonna save this. Okay,
Jen, can I ask a
we'll
question?
close.
Ted,
Question?
it's Tamika.
Yes.
I have a quick question. When would you use the requisition form versus like a purchase order?
Yeah, good. So, it's really, it's not, so, I don't want to say it's one and the same, but it's an extra step. Okay. So, a lot of times clients who, want to keep things very simple, all right, will have, departments enter in requisitions, all right, and submit them, okay, for approval, or, and I'm going to just close out of here, directly convert into purchase orders. So, in other words, you might have, and we talked this through with you, okay, as far as, the sort of the setup that is going to work best for you, all right, and then the system gets configured, okay, based upon that. So, in this instance, what I'm talking about is, we've got, department users entering in requisitions, submitting them, and if you have an approval, okay, the approve's going to be enabled like this is, all right, and there we have our approval. Now we've got 3 users who are approvers, I should say, of this level in approvee, okay, so as long as one person approves and commits, okay, that requisition is now eligible down here in the convert area to be turned into a purchase order. Okay. So, the entries can be made, they can be submitted electronically, they can be turned into a purchase order right here. And then if there's no approval level or additional approval level necessary on the purchase order side, so in other words, you don't need or desire another step, okay, in the purchase order area, those entries would electronically be transferred right here to the post, where you'd have a final review capability, okay? You could, edit whatever you wanted to do, okay? I've got one in here, right now, for instance, and turn this into a purchase order. So post it and encumber those funds to the line item, all right? So entry, approval, turn it into a PO. The convert and this area here, you've got full edit capable or maintenance, capabilities, okay, on these things. So, just because something got entered in, you're not married to it. The user may have picked the wrong vendor, the wrong account, who knows what, okay? But again, they can be edited prior to then posting and encumbering the funds. Okay, so that's just one example of a path. Another one would be you've got the requisition approval levels that then you say, oh, well, I also need, an approval, different approval levels once it goes to be a purchase order. Okay, that's just another sort of layer. But if you feel like you only need that one, layer, entry, approval, turn it into a purchase order, it works very well just going through the requisitions, and that's it. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you, Ted.
Okay. And again, we talked this all through with you prior to doing the system configuration, based upon, what you want to see and how you want to use it. So here we've got a purchase order, okay, ready to be posted. And we'll just do a post date. The post date is the effective date of the transaction. It's moved out of pending purchase orders and is now here posted. The funds are encumbered. Okay, they're now encumbered. Let me just close my. They're now encumbered and they're posted. So if we come down here, I think this might have been the guy. We've got a purchase order document, of course. Okay. So we've got all of our vendor information, purchase order info, and the individual line items. So if there were multiple line items, of course, they'd all be listed. Okay. Then we've got a bill to and ship to address on the purchase order itself. Purchase orders here can be maintained. They can be adjusted. The lines themselves can't be adjusted because our philosophy is that we're using purchase orders for sort of an additional level of control. But lines could be added. You know, somebody forgets to include freight, for instance, okay, or the price changes on something. Additional lines can be added to a purchase order. This is usually something done directly by the finance office, not the departments. Okay, so this is again sort of like a higher level, maintainability. Okay. We can unpost a purchase order if no activity has been posted against it. Close a purchase order, of course, to free up encumbrance funds that may not be used or something an order will not be arriving. Okay, so you want to adjust that and make sure that encumbrance doesn't remain. And then of course we have our accessibility to our attachments. So if anything has an attachment, we can select our purchase order. We'll view this guy. We can open the attachment here. Again, these just open up in Adobe. There it is. Print it out, save it, whatever you like. So, the point is that, having the capability of attaching documents in the system, again, to purchase orders, requisitions, payables, okay, invoices maybe, in vendors, okay, is that information now resides in the system and is recallable through the system rather than maybe having to go to a file cabinet or go down to the basement, okay. So now we have purchase orders in the system. We've encumbered the funds. Any questions here before I just move on to, what does sort of this mean to the rest of the system?
Great.
I have a question. Can Vadar email a purchase order through the system and track that it was emailed?
Right. Not through the system, okay, but the purchase order can be saved as a PDF and then attached in an email, okay, from the user, or by the user, I should say. Okay, so you can create files of the purchase order document. So I've got document in this case selected, okay, and here I can create a PDF of that, okay, save it, and then email it as an attachment.
How does an approver know that there's one sitting out there to be approved?
So yeah, it's a good question. They've got to be notified either by the person who did the entry, okay, or be in the system, okay, to look and see. So typically what happens and what we've seen people do is they've run, they've done their entry. I'm just going to go back, okay, here in requisitions, okay, they've done their entry. They print out the requisition document, okay, they send to the approver, or they notify the approver, okay, that something's there that needs to, okay, be approved and move on in the process. We don't have any sort of alert in the system as far as notifying people in that respect.
Is there a report that approvers could look at on a regular basis throughout their day to see what's outstanding to be approved?
Yeah, in the approvee area here. Okay, so here you can see and you can run a report of any pending entries that might need approval.
Okay.
And the finance office can, towards the end of the year, can go through and get all the information, what's still outstanding and things like that, so we can close out the accounts at any time?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So here, we are in the requisitions and the purchase order entry. We have a reporting capability, okay? So here in purchase order history, we have all of our purchase orders, and reports can be run, okay, based upon a selected purchase order, or for instance, you could run a report of vendors. We also have an account filter, so you could run a report of purchase orders, by say department, okay, or fund. All right, and with the filter, okay, we can run reports here, and we can see, well, what purchase orders are closed to date, what are open to date, okay, what are open, okay, greater than zero, what are open that are less than or equal to zero. Okay, so to answer your question there, as far as being able to see and really isolate, okay, purchase orders that you may need to take action on, and so along with there's that reporting itself, but back in the purchase order area specific to the freeing up of encumbrances, okay, in management, okay, we have a close run area. Okay, so this is an auto close, okay, or a group closing where, again, usually the finance department can run some balances, okay, and be it open purchase orders less than zero or less than a balance threshold, okay, and then really gather all of those together and then choose one or all or any combination, okay, to close as a group. And what happens is that as a result of closing a purchase order, all right, the system for budget and balance calculations, it frees up the encumbrance or remaining encumbrance as of the date of the close. All right, so the end of a fiscal year would be 6/30. Okay, and as a result, any closed purchase orders that still had remaining encumbrances, okay, as of 6/30, okay, those amounts would now show as zero as far as the budget report goes. Okay, so there are a lot of options there as far as managing what you want to close, what the balances are for purchase orders, and even down to particular purchase orders vendors or subsets of accounts, be it department, fund, combinations of things. Did that answer that question?
It did.
Okay. So now we have encumbrances.
Sorry, I have a quick question, sorry.
Sure, yeah.
Do the individual departments have access to see which purchase orders are still open or have balances either remaining or whatever, or is that solely the finance team that has that access?
Right. Yeah, no. So here in purchasing, the reports, the purchase order history, okay, in reporting area I was in, all right, is typically also a departmental resource. Okay. So we're gonna see the budget to actual reports, okay, where we have that encumbrance. But what departments can do is they can also come here and see, well, what makes up that encumbrance amount, okay? What purchase order, as well as, if we come in here, just so you can see, for instance, I'm gonna pull up, one of these guys here. Just since I've got that selected, I don't have, Yeah, so this is the detail version report, but what I wanted to show you here is that along with all the purchase order data, okay, we have the ended original encumbrance amount, okay, We have the payments that have been applied. In this case, there aren't any. And as a result, the ending balance. And whether or not a purchase order was overpaid. It is possible to overpay a purchase order, okay? But that doesn't draw the encumbrance down below zero. It just puts the payment in the payment column, impacting the ending balance to whatever that additional overpayment is. But the point being, on a per purchase order in line item basis, you can see at any time the extended to date in balances, okay, for a purchase order.
Thank you.
So up here in reporting in our ledger history, all right, we can report on, in this case, we'll run an allocated, what's called an allocated summary PO, which is a high level one-liner, okay, budget to actual with the purchase order encumbrance column. So I'm going to run this for 2026, a very simple report. And again, you see, I only have access to the IT accounts. Same thing if I were to choose and run a report on a per account basis. Okay, so that account security filter is working. And now if I just run this, we'll again see the one-liner. So here we have our account name. The allocated column here is actually the budget, okay, and any adjustment. So it would be the net of the budget, maybe any transfers or adjustments, things like that. We have our activity, okay, and we have our PO encumbrance, which all then impacts our ending balance. So what will happen is, as purchase orders are paid down, okay, the encumbrance gets reduced and the payment goes in the activity column. So, if you're just paying down a PO encumbrance for, paying bills for the phones in all town buildings here, okay, the ending balance doesn't change. All right. It's just that the encumbrance gets reduced into the net activity column. Does that make sense?
Kind of like what we have now.
So we have anywhere from the very high level PO, the allocated summary, the budget to actual, the variance report being another example. Okay. And this is all, as far as the reporting and running reports and what report is what, it's all part of the training that we provide. Okay. With the remote department, license. Okay, so that's included what we would be quoting you as far as this additional functionality for, again, the departmental users. So the variance, again, being just another quote unquote budget to actual report where we have our budget column. We've got a little more information here from a budget standpoint because we have a transfers column as well. So any transfers in and out. We have our allocated column. Now we break out that one activity column into a transaction, okay, transaction column. So we can see, well, of that net activity, was any of it journal entries? Okay, any of it receipts? Payments, okay? And I should have run, I wanted to run the purchase order report because we want to make sure that we're including that encumbrance as well. So again, we've got the variance here coming up, but this has also got the purchase order encumbrance impacting our ending balance. Okay. So then we come down. So this is all real time. Okay. It's whatever is posted, okay, in the ledgers. Anywhere from, again, these high level reports down to, okay, per transaction reports now. All right. So we can see here at the detail level. So this is all going to, sorry about that. Let me just make it a little smaller. There we go. So now we've gone from the high level, and there's what's in between, but all the way down to the individual transaction level. All right. So again, departments being able to run reports, by account or for their department, and see all of the transactions that are impacting their ending balance, as well as here in the detail, you see, well, where did it come from? Well, these are all payables. Okay. Well, it's to the computer's desktop, laptop. These are payments to Dell Marketing, Amazon Capital Services, Dell Marketing again. All right. We see the warrant it was on, the back in, the check number as well. Okay. Invoice information. All right. So, there's a lot of info here at the fingertips of the departments. All right. Be able to see, well, what's been going on with my accounts, maybe reconciling as well, their activity, their invoices, and their balances.
Hey, Ted, you got a 5-minute warning.
Okay.
Sorry.
Great. I appreciate it. No. And I apologize. I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you. So we see the reporting there, and the two other biggies here being the bills entry. Okay. So being able to have departments enter in schedules of payments that they're going to be paying. Okay. And we've got in here, we can do a new one. As I said before, we can attach scanned images. All right. Here, I'm going to show you, we have GoTo as a vendor, okay, that has a purchase order. Okay. So if we go to purchase order distributions here, all right, now they remember that $11,000 encumbrance. Okay. My last one already had 150. So, I'm gonna pay 10,000 here, but also we could enter in non-purchase order bills as well, of course.
Perfect.
So we'll save this. Yeah, it's duplicate. Okay, so we've got our two in here. Departments typically will run reports. So we've got a cover sheet with signature lines for a schedule. Detail report. It details all of the bills that have been entered. And those are ready to go. Those get submitted electronically. Okay. And the submitted area, where typically the finance will pick it up and then electronically add it to the warrant. Okay, so again, with the bills payable, it's one-time entry, and then things flow through electronically to the proper, stops.
Perfect.
Then finally, budgeting. Okay, so from departmental, use access. Okay, we have the budgeting menu. I've got some limited, in the Vadar user, some limited security here as far as what I can do in this area. So akin to a department's experience, all right, I might come in, budget maintenance. This is where a department would be able to do their initial, budget requests, okay, as level, all right. And then what would happen is here in level maintenance, okay, you could have a number of additional approval levels. So departments enter in their initial request, they get locked out or their permissions are reduced in this area, and then the finance department takes over and brings again those requests through electronically, okay, to the different approval levels. Administrator, FinCom, Select Board, what have you, whatever you want those to be, and each level gets preserved, okay, so that subsequent levels can look back and see, well, what did the department request? Well, what did the town administrator approve? Okay, so on and so forth. As well, okay, just as far as that, sort of analysis and that comparative, okay, here in those level or amount, okay, maintenance areas, you also have a capability of loading prior budget and expense histories. Okay, again, for that site, okay, when the departments are doing their entry or these additional approval or subsequent approval levels are doing their review. So what this looks like, for instance, is I've got, one budgeted amount in for this account, repairs and maintenance, of $4,000. In sheet reporting here, we can see with the loaded history, well, it's the top account here, okay? In 2024, $500 is budgeted, $27.99 expended. 2025, $500, okay, was allocated, but $3,575 was spent. I'm now budgeting $4,000, okay? And the same would hold true, all through the entries. All right. So not only can this be used, just for an entry and a request, but with the history, and Rutland's got a lot of history that you can utilize for that budgeting comparative and that review all through the approval process and the different steps. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Perfect.
I did it with a minute to spare. So again, I'm sorry I took so long there. I appreciate your time. Okay. Any sort of last questions I can help answer or answer for you?
Ted, I think if we have any questions or follow-up, we'll email them to you, and it'd be very helpful if you get back to us.
Okay, fantastic. And so I Tamika, you may not have gotten it because I sent it at like 5:00, but I did forward you in an email, an attachment, the quote. Okay, and so you'll see a breakout of the configuration, one-time charge training, and then the licenses for the remote access and purchase orders broken out. And then what we have is we've got the 7 additional cloud user costs, the annual cost for that. And then we've got 2 different payment options. One is, the classic 80% and then the 20% just support. And then the other is that we just we break out that amount evenly, over, I think it's 6 payments. So, it's more of a payment plan. It's the same price. Okay, so you can choose sort of which option works for best for you there. But again, if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer those.
We did get it. Thank you, Ted.
Okay, you're welcome. So again, I won't take up any more time. But you really, thank you. I really appreciate you giving me the time tonight.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
So, Seth, as far as next steps, I mean, we have spent an hour on this. Do we want to, is there a proposal beyond what the, that we want to bring before the board just to kind of get?
Yeah, we'll gather everything,
Okay.
how, if the transition period, all that stuff, we'll have, how we would implement this.
Benefits
and
and-
what departments would be impacted,
Okay,
whether we staggered departments in slowly, just to make sure we are transitioning correctly and making sure it works correctly, so,
okay.
we'll follow up with that.
Plan, okay, so we'll have another agenda
Yep.
item to
Yep.
talk through anything next after this. Okay. Are there any other questions from either board? Alex, any other questions on this before we? Okay, all right.
Jen, we'd like to have FinCom, do you guys wanna close your meeting before we move on, or do you wanna stay open?
I don't know who's staying. You gotta keep it open if people are staying. I'm not.
Who's
Finance
staying?
committee, are you guys all staying or are you leaving?
Staying? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
Please.
Thanks, buddy.
Good to hear.
Yeah, and I want to get it. Okay. I'll call you. Sounds good.
Pumpkin Festival and the Wolf Championship Pumpkin Way Off.
Sorry, can the person that's on Zoom just, thank you. Thank you. All right, so we have a public hearing scheduled for 7 PM. We have the, this is to address a complaint, for a nuisance dog. We just have to open the public hearing, correct? There's not a motion, okay. So I will read the opening statements here. This hearing is being conducted pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 140, Section 157, the Nuisance or Dangerous Dog Statute. This statute gives the board the authority, upon receipt of a complaint, to determine whether a dog is a nuisance, meaning a dog that, 1, by excessive barking or other disturbance, is a source of annoyance to a sick person residing in the vicinity, or 2, by excessive barking causing damage or other interference, a reasonable person would find such behavior disruptive to one's quiet and peaceful enjoyment, or 3, has threatened or attacked livestock, a domestic animal, or a person, but such threat or attack was not a grossly disproportionate reaction under all the circumstances, MGL Chapter 140, Section 136A. The board shall hear under oath from all witnesses who can testify to the facts relating to the incidents alleged in the resident complaint dated September 22nd, 2025. If, after hearing the testimony and taking any evidence, the board declares, is it Romy? To be a nuisance dog, it will issue an order prescribing a remedy that may include, among other options, certain restraints, supervision, and implementing behavioral modification. The board's decision will be memorialized in a written decision issued shortly after the hearing. Any order of this board may be appealed to the district court. Review of the process. The board will first hear from witnesses and receive evidence from the complaining party and the victims, and then it will hear from the dog owner, including any witnesses or evidence they may have. In order to provide testimony, all witnesses must be sworn under oath given by the chair, myself, Jennifer Ledger. After all factual evidence is provided, the board will close the public hearing. No other information will be taken by the board after that point. The board will then deliberate on its determination. It may take 2 or more votes. 1, whether the dog is a nuisance dog as defined by the statute, and 2, if so, what the remedy should be to ensure public safety. So we will get started. Do we have the Bailey family? Okay. Would you like to provide testimony?
Sure.
Okay, if I may. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury?
I affirm.
Thank you. Please.
Just sit right here.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable with.
So, we live at 16 Skyline Drive and we moved there, in March of 2021 and in the wintertime. And so during the springtime and so forth, even in the wintertime, we saw the dog would come over and we would always call the neighbors and said, hey, your dog is over. The dog would be in a neon vest, like a glow-in-the-dark vest, just walking around the neighborhood, walking in our yards, walking in the backyards, everywhere. We'd call them, they'll get the dog. Another day, the same thing would happen again. They would just open their screen door, let the dog out. The dog would roam the neighborhood over others' yards, pooping in the yards. And it's just gotten to the point now where they have the dog tied outside by the walkway. The dog would bark at everyone who passes by viciously. Now my daughter comes home from school off the school bus. She's petrified of coming home because the dog is in the walkway. We call AOC multiple times, even before this. They talk with them, tell them to tie the dog farther in the yard. After that, the dog would still come to the walkway. My daughter would be petrified. She has to walk in the street to come home from the school bus. These people, they don't care. They don't care. We talk with them. We text them. But as we moved, the first thing they said to us was, oh, the previous neighbors, we used to get animal texts from them. And we said, oh, okay. And now we know why. Because we used to text them also. She blocked my number so I couldn't text her anymore. not just the dog, their chickens, their ducks would fly over. We had a dilapidated fence that we had to spend $17,000 just to keep the peace, just to have a fence. We had to get a lawyer to get them to move their dilapidated fence off our property. It's just so many things that we have to deal with these people, man. It's just unbelievable and it's unfair. We're the only black family in our neighborhood, and a part of our civil right is to own property and enjoy our property, and we're not enjoying our property. We love the town of Rutland since we've been here, but we do not enjoy our neighbors because of what they're doing. No matter what we say to them, they have another black dog, we're going poop in other people's yard. Our neighbors, they would not like it, but nobody else is really saying anything. I don't know who's talking to the town, not my business, but it seems like we're in this alone and it's not fair. We need the town to help. We have a memorandum of understanding with them. They're not following it. They put their ducks in at night at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, waking up our 2-year-old. We have to suffer through that to get her to school in the morning. She's a teacher. I'm a clinical director of a substance abuse program. We can't sleep properly at nights because our 2-year-olds keep getting up because they're putting their ducks away at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're making so much noise. They're supposed to put their animals away at 9 p.m. and they're not following it. We talked to Mr. Jordan. He spoke with them. It got to the point where they're not listening to anybody, so it's almost like everybody gives up. So now we're here again regarding the nuisance dog. Is it a nuisance dog or is it a nuisance neighbor? That's I rest.
I also have some comments.
May I just,
Yes.
just to make sure. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury?
I affirm. Hi, everybody. My name is Capri Bailey, and I just want to speak briefly about our experience with the Jankowski's dog. Like my husband stated, we have really tried our very best to be amicable, to be friendly neighbors, and do the right thing by reaching out to them when their dog is on the loose. Over this past summer, I had to call animal control numerous times, and it's come to the point where I can't even send our girls out in our backyard to play on our swing set because I don't know if the dog is gonna be in the back. I've seen the dog numerous times in our backyard. We find dog feces in our yard, and it's just not fair that our girls are not comfortable. I can't send our girls in our own backyard to play because the neighbor's dog is in our backyard. And sometimes it would be in our backyard for up to 20 minutes at a time. So it was very apparent that sometimes the Jankowskis don't know when their dog is out, or they're very lackadaisical and just allow the dog to roam free. We live in a cul-de-sac, and all of our neighbors have dogs, and they have some sort of deterrent, whether it's an electric fence or some sort of barking collar or something like that. And we just want them to be responsible like everybody else is with their pet. We understand that sometimes pets get out. We're not unreasonable. That happens sometimes. But when your dog is in our backyard at nighttime, in the morning, in the afternoon, I mean, it's not okay. And like I said before, our girls deserve to feel comfortable to go out in their own backyard without wondering if the dog is going to be loose.
So about 2 weeks ago, the dog also was on the leash, but next to the walkway. After my daughter came home, she called me petrified. The dog is in her yard. It chased her and was barking at her and hiding under the tree. She had to shoo the dog away. And the second time the dog went under the tree, and she didn't know if the dog was going to attack her or not because it came at her. Again, like I said, she shooed it, and then she called me crying. I left work and came home, and I went and I yelled at John. I said, come get your dog. You think it's okay for your dog to be in my yard? And he said, no, with a soft voice. Like, he's always like that, but then they don't listen. They just do what they want to do and then act like they're so, oh, I'm so sorry. No, get your dog out of our yard.
We need action. If they're not going to be responsible for their dog like everybody else is, then I guess they need the town to help them with that. And like my husband said, my daughter called and left me 2 voicemails. I have them. She was crying, saying that she was scared. But she was brave enough to take pictures of the dog that was on our property underneath a tree. My daughter shouldn't be afraid to walk home from school.
Anything else that you wanted to add?
That's it. Thank you.
May I offer the opportunity if I
Absolutely.
You solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalty of perjury?
Can I say a few words?
You
and
go
then
crazy.
You can address that stuff.
You go crazy. You say what you need to say.
The thing with this dog is only the tip of the iceberg, what's going on here. They moved in like 4 years ago and, you know, they were really nice and everything, and we were getting a lot of messages and everything, and at the time, my dog was obviously younger, and she was actually digging under the fence and escaping, and so we put stuff against the fence to keep that from happening, and you know, we did everything we could to keep her in. We never, well, let me back up by saying that he has called every office in this town to try to make my life more difficult. He's called police numerous times. I don't think the building, Board of Health, and obviously animal control. And almost every time, animal control is the only one who has said anything to me that I had to alter what I was doing in any way. And all the other phone calls were, you know, you're not doing anything wrong here, you know, you're all set. And all of the complaints were, they had a huge, either a lie or exaggeration to go along with the complaint. And I honestly believe, and I swore that I was gonna tell the truth, that he exaggerates a lot to manipulate the town into responding to his desire to make me suffer or to make my life difficult. Now, this little dog is like the friendliest dog ever. And the only living thing that has anything to worry about from her is a chipmunk, a rabbit, or a squirrel, and a skunk. She got hit 3 times in 2 weeks this year. She has an incredible prey drive. She's hardly interested in humans at all. The only thing is she's obsessed with food. So if she thinks she can get a treat or a belly rub or something, that's the only time she'll approach a human, a stranger. There's been a whole bunch of other complaints. They've called the DPW because I was putting leaves in the street, and there was like 2 or 3 other houses on our road that put leaves in the street, and I'm quite sure that no one heard about that. There's one house up from the Baileys, I believe that would be 18 Skyline Drive. They have 2 labs, they have electronic fence, and those dogs, every time somebody goes around the cul-de-sac, those dogs bark their head off. Nobody heard about that because they're not the Jankowskis. A bird, we have birds, you know, birds fly sometimes. We try to keep the wings clipped on the ducks. The ducks, the female ducks are the only ones that are really flighted. And, you know, if we notice them starting to fly around, we'll catch the offenders and clip their flight feathers. We haven't had any flying ducks in probably 6 months. I know, it's just, there's more to it than just a vicious dog complaint, which is actually, is anybody that knows my dogs knows that that would be a ridiculous accusation to have a vicious. I have no use for a vicious dog, and I don't need the liability. We never let the dog out, just open the door and let her out. We don't do that. And the last place I want her going is in their yard. And you know, she's an escape artist, and she has been for a long time. She's not digging under the fence anymore. She's gotten older, but she still has an extremely strong prey drive. And she's just she's very obsessed with hunting. And she'll go out, we'll put her out at night or bring her out, and she'll be sniffing around the whole yard looking for chipmunks or mice or whatever. And she won't even go to the bathroom when we go in the house, and then now she has to go a half hour later and we're all, ready to go to bed. So that's just her personality, and, just to hear that she's being accused of being vicious, it's just so ridiculous to us, because that's not Rami. It really is not that dog. She's very friendly. She barks at people with strollers going by, because they probably seem strange to her, especially people walking dogs by. And she's met so many dogs. We used to watch dogs for some of our friends and stuff, and she's met a lot of dogs, and she's very personable with dogs and people. Anyone can come in our house, and we don't have to worry about her misbehaving or whatever. The only thing we gotta worry about is her scooting out the door when the door opens. She's hard to, the only thing she's guilty of in this whole thing is escaping and being loose. It might happen once a week, sometimes it'll happen once or twice a month, but we try to keep it to a minimum the best we can. And that last bit of contact that I had with the dog officer, she was on a lead, and she did have access to the sidewalk, and I asked him if I was doing anything illegal. He said, no, but she shouldn't be on him. Like, I'll shorten it up. So I shortened it up, and then I think the very next day she escaped. The lead was shorter than, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. The lead was shorter now than she is used to, and she backed out of it, and it slipped off her head. So I've tightened this, and that was the day that Leroy came over and told me my dog was in his yard. And he said to me, this ain't right. And I said, I know, it's not right. And, because I don't want her over there. And she's a smart dog, hard to stay one step ahead of her. But, if we were in a habit of letting her out, we would do it every day. And we don't. We try our best to keep her secured. So I know Kendra has
That's okay.
some points to address on the complaint specifically. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Let me just go through my spiel again, just to
Yes,
make sure
please do.
everybody's. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalty of perjury?
Absolutely, yes. All right, so first, good evening, members of the select board. I know it's nice that you guys are all here. It's great to have a chance to be heard. My name is Kendra Jankowski. I live at 14 Skyline Drive, and I came in to address the nuisance complaint concerning my dog Robbie. I want to begin by stating that I take this complaint seriously. I'm very sorry to hear that my neighbor has been disturbed by Rami's behavior, and it was never my intention for my dog to be a nuisance. I have and will continue to comply with any lawful request from the town. We do. Anytime anyone asks us to do it, we're on it. That's what we do. I think that the situation that Mr. Bailey described may not reflect the whole story, and I'd like to offer some additional context. The complaint references instances of our dog, Rami, who is a geriatric spayed female Beagle Jack Russell Terrier mix. Mr. Bailey states that Rami barks viciously at passersby and has chased their 11-year-old daughter home from school. He also states in his complaint that an animal control officer stopped by on Saturday, September the 20th, 2025, and advised my husband to shorten Rami's leash line. He claims that my husband ignored the directives from the ACO and didn't change anything. The visit actually occurred in the late morning of Sunday, September 21st, and I got a text about it while the guy was on site, Matt was on site, so I know that's when it happened. And it was at that time that they suggested that the leash was shortened immediately, and John complied immediately and shortened the leash. When we quizzed, he says that he was told that it was a recommendation and that we weren't violating any town laws or ordinances. Mr. Bailey also attached 6 pictures with his complaint, and I've reviewed all the pictures, and I want to address each one, starting with the most recent date. That would have been September 22nd at 3:08 in the afternoon. That was the incident that he was just describing, where Rami slipped out of her collar and wandered down the road to 18 Skyline Drive to visit their dog, who is a lovely golden retriever. That dog is contained by an invisible fence. When we realized she was gone, Rami was immediately retrieved and retethered, and then at 3:57, there's a picture of her tethered, sitting on her bed in the yard, which is her tethered sitting on her bed in the yard. She was at the end of her tether. It denies her access to the sidewalk, just like the ACO suggested, and left us in compliance. On the 21st, the day that the officer actually visited, the picture was taken before they stopped in. And she's sitting there peacefully looking at the photographer with what looks to me to be an expression of curiosity. Her posture, her tail, her ears don't demonstrate any signs of aggression. They have all the pictures. On June 18th, there is a picture of Rami that looks like Rami. It's kind of blurry, but it does look like she is on the public sidewalk. So mea culpa there. On March 23rd, 18 months previous, Rami is walking through a neighbor's yard at 13 Skyline Drive. This is a dog-friendly family. They actually stop by our house and enjoy visiting with her. She gets belly rubs from them. And then there is a picture from October 24th of 2023, which would be 2 years ago, where she is, again, visiting a neighbor that is across the street from them at 15 Skyline Drive, and they've never complained. Jeff and Lynn have never said anything to us about it. The Morosky's, who are at 13, have never said anything about it. Just them. No date was shown on the other one, but I assume that's probably the picture that their daughter took of Rami standing under a burning bush, which I think is in their front yard. So, mea culpa there. Regarding history of animal control calls, Mr. Bailey's complaint states that over the last 4 years, he has made numerous calls to animal control, resulting in no changes being made on our part. I was provided with evidence of the 6 calls to multiple dispatchers. First call 2 years ago came in through 911. That was October of 2023. According to the notes, call was to report an off-leash sighting from the previous day. The dog escaped under our dilapidated fence and was retrieved ASAP by us. When the ACO advised us of the complaint, my husband immediately dug up our entire backyard and piled mounds of dirt and rocks against the bottom of the fence so that she wouldn't dig under it again. Again, complying. The second call, 18 months ago, I got was in March. Mr. Bailey stated that Rami was in his yard loose and running around. The photograph submitted as evidence clearly shows the dog across the street from his house, not in his yard. The third call reported a small black and tan dog in their yard. That's not our dog. That description matches the dog that lives across the street from them in 13. He is a corgi mix, and he looks like a little dog, skinny little dog, black and tan with a collar. So not even our dog. Still getting calls. The fourth call reported that a brown and white dog allegedly belonging to us with thin fur, thin coat, was in his yard. Again, this could have been any dog, but it's probably us. I just didn't see a picture saying that it was her. Fifth call, running out in the road, chasing his daughter, as well as constantly barking. My security camera doesn't bear that out. She wasn't chasing their kid. And I'll be happy to provide that video evidence if you guys need to see it. The sixth call, September 22nd, reports Rami off leash and chasing his daughter. Again, the photo that he submitted is of Rami in his neighbor's yard, and it doesn't really bear out his daughter being chased or aggressed in any way. And furthermore, the second photo from that day shows her tethered and peacefully sitting in our yard. Regarding Rami's vocal behavior, you know, she's a vocal breed. She's a Beagle Jack Russell. And she's responding to natural triggers in her environment. You know, when a stranger walks by, yeah, she barks at them. She's in her yard and they're walking by her yard.
Not excessively.
When another dog walks by on a leash, yep, she barks. When a delivery person or the mailman pop in, she barks. But she stops right away, and it's not reasonable, I don't think, to expect her to behave differently than any other dog would defending their property. I've spoken with our neighbors who live close to my home, and none of them have reported any issues. It is in fact common to see their kids coming over and interacting affectionately and playfully with Rami and the birds. I'm prepared to show photos of my secure fence and yard, as well as video evidence demonstrating that Rami's barking is not continuous. And since being made aware of this complaint, I've taken several steps to address the issue. I've reviewed all the evidence submitted by Mr. Bailey. I have ensured that Rami's collar is humanely fitted and cannot be easily slipped off. And I investigate the goings-on whenever I hear her barking to make sure that she and the neighbors are safe and not outside barking during quiet hours. I'm committed to being a responsible pet owner and complying with all the issues. Both of my dogs are licensed, both of them are current on vaccinations, and I'm happy to continue to follow the bylaws and ordinances as they're written here in Rutland, which is what we've been doing all along. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you guys for your time and consideration. I hope you will consider all the evidence and see that I am actually a responsible pet owner who's being targeted and continually harassed by my neighbors at 16 Skyline Drive. The continued visits from law enforcement, the agricultural board, the ACO, the health department, prompted by their petty and frivolous complaints about us, are harming our peace of mind, exacerbating my anxiety levels. Look, I'm shaking, you can see. I'm medicated for this. I have an actual anxiety condition. And I just don't understand how someone can think it's okay to try and have that effect on my overall quality of life. It's affecting my job. It's affecting my relationship with him. It's affecting my personality. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Could I approach you guys with a couple of documents? I want to point some things out.
Do we have all the documents?
Well, there's,
You probably don't have the
Probably
one from the
have-
vet, but I have 2 copies.
yeah, the picture of Rami viciously standing at the edge of the sidewalk waiting for someone to come by.
They have all 6 of those. They can't.
And you can, anybody that knows anything about dogs can look at that picture and see that that is a happy dog. And can I have the letter for the vet as well?
I'm digging.
I have one more thing I wanna bring to you guys.
Not that one. Can you help me? I don't know what I did with it. Look through that stack. It was right here. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's not this.
It's from Jen Ford. It's from the Masters. I don't want to resolve them. Here.
This,
Start at the chair, please.
this is a picture of our dog in our yard, who was being described by the Baileys as viciously waiting for allegedly a person to come by, but she's probably watching for squirrels and chipmunks. She's currently being treated for an eye injury she got while obsessively hunting for a chipmunk in a very small area. And I mentioned that what we're gonna be doing tonight, to her, and she just thought it was completely ridiculous that no one would even think of my dog in that way. So that's all I got.
Jen, can I just ask what the two documents are?
It's a picture that we already have.
Okay, it's just for the nuisance
Just
also.
has,
Thank you.
yeah, and then it's a letter from their veterinarian.
Thank you.
Are we, can we keep these for the files, or
Yeah.
did you make copies?
I have a copy, yes.
Okay.
She's been to the vet 3 times. She has a really bad scratch on her eye, and it was very painful. Her eye wasn't even open for like 4 days. And they treated her, examined her, everything without any worry whatsoever of getting bitten or not even considering putting a muzzle on her. She's just like the sweetest, friendliest dog ever. This is just I think the vicious accusation of this complaint is another way of manipulating the town into responding to his concerns or other concerns.
Anything else you would like to add? All right, I apologize, I don't recall your name, I know we don't have ACO Ford here, I assume that you're here to.
ACO DeCero, I'm her
Thank you,
assistant.
I apologize. I know we do have a memo from ACO Ford. I didn't know if you had anything specific that you would like to bring forward.
I can come forward if you like.
Okay, yes, please, if I may. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalty of perjury?
I do. I also have the nuisance law for the board as well.
Oh,
I'd like to
thank you.
review that as well.
Thank you. In case anybody would like an extra copy of that. Whatever you have that you can offer as far as your,
So, first off, hello, I'm ACO DeCero. I'm ACO Ford's assistant. I work the weekends. So I've had some, I've been to the household that we are discussing right now on Skyline Drive, for a few calls during the weekends when this has occurred. After speaking with ACO Ford and myself, we've talked about this situation a few times. What we recommend is that, one, that the leash for the dog be shortened, as has been stated before, and also that it be moved further back on the property so it's not so close to the sidewalk. And also that the front doorway either have like a baby gate installed in front of it, so therefore if the door is open, the dog can't come running out right away, or one of those kind of like U-shaped kind of gates in front of it there, so therefore if the door is opened, the dog can't immediately run right out. Those were kind of the suggestions we were gonna suggest to the board, and try that for the time being. If that doesn't work, then we could go with a more extreme measure, or more further measure of that nature, whether it be fencing of that nature, moving forward. Also, as of last week, the dog was not registered with the town, so we asked that be,
I have a receipt.
according to the town clerk, as of last week, there was no registration with that dog. So, we just asked that be taken care of as well.
Through the chair.
I just wanna, just to make sure, Tamika, can we ask questions?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, please, here.
How long have you been the ACO of Rutland?
Me personally, I've been here for a little over a year now.
In your travels, how many times have you seen dogs right up to the sidewalk on property, leashed or not? Because my experience has been, most dogs are kept in the back, in a fence, or they're not right by the sidewalk. So I'm curious if that is something that is in town or is rare.
Occasionally it can, depending, so invisible fences are very popular nowadays. They can be installed in the front yard and the rear of the house. Some people have them in the front. You are correct. Most commonly, it is in the rear of the house that people usually try to keep their dogs. But there is a few instances where I have seen them in the front yard as well.
Most of those were with invisible fences or no?
Correct.
They
Yes. Yep.
were. Okay. When you observed the property, did you walk the whole property?
At 16 Skyline? I'm sorry, not 16.
14?
14 Skyline?
you
Yes, I
walk?
have. I've been on that property.
Was there a whole fence around the property?
In the rear, in the rear of the property is fenced in, and there is there is some fencing in the front property.
Okay, I mean, from edge of house to edge of house back, fenced in the back.
In the back of the property, yes, there is a fenced-in area where he keeps his birds.
Okay.
Were you, during any of the calls, did you observe the dog outside of the property?
So I did not, when I was there, the dog was on property. When I was called to the location, the last time I was there was that Sunday call that they mentioned where the dog was near the sidewalk. I did mention that he needed to keep the dog away from the sidewalk so people could pass by it, hence why we shortened up the leash. And I did ask him actually if he could bring the dog further away from the sidewalk, which he did comply with, and brought the dog down further into his backyard.
And did you have an opportunity to meet the dog?
Yeah, I did.
What's your observation on the interaction?
I personally had an okay interaction with the dog. It did not seem aggressive towards me when I walked on the property, and I would say I'm a foreign person walking onto that property because I don't see the dog very often. But I only go once in a while on that property, so I don't see it very often, so I can't. From the brief interaction I had, the dog was okay with me.
Could I make a comment about the dog being in the front
I still
yard?
have questions for this one. What's your opinion of Jack Russell's?
In terms of?
Huh?
In terms of?
In terms of excitability, aggressiveness, playfulness.
So
I'm hearing,
yep.
My question is, I'm hearing different dimensions here. I guess for me, my question is, the dog apparently seems to be very playful and likes to get out and do things. But my question is, why is that happening so much? Is there another side to the dog that isn't that friendly, that he gets out and wants to do things? So that's why I'm asking you the opinion of Jack Russell.
So Jack Russells are typically a very high hunting dog kind of style. They're typically used to hunt small rodents. That's what they were bred for. So they are highly, I'll say, prey-driven. Doesn't mean they're aggressive, it just means they're highly prey-driven. They try to go after small little, like he said, chipmunks, mice, rodents, things like that, and try to attack them. They were bred for that, for farm life. That's what they were originally designed for over in Europe. So for that reason, it's when it gets on a scent and it wants to go after something, it's gonna go after that prey item. Like I said, when I went over to the property and I walked onto it, it did not appear aggressive towards me when I would walk up to it. But then again, I was only there for a short time, and I don't know. Dogs have histories and memories of things, so we deal with that when we deal with all kinds of dogs across the town and the other towns we deal with. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say why the dog would, react. Dogs react in different ways all the time to different situations. So I wouldn't say this particular dog seems aggressive, but at the time when I visited it, it wasn't aggressive. Every dog has their ability to act a different way in situations.
Okay. Is there anybody else? I don't want to take the whole conversation here for questions. No. Could you remind me what the leash law in town is?
So Rutland does have a leash law. And it is that you So Rutland has a leash law. The specifics of it is that they should be, if they're off property, they should be leashed at all times. If they're on your property, they have to be either through a visible fence, they have to be restrained to your property somehow, whether it's through a leash, a visible fence, or a leash, like a run kind of situation, or a fence. That's the way it's worked here in this town.
I have it right here if you want.
I just wanted to,
Okay.
so you could get it on tape.
So for your instance, anything off property is considered off leash and a violation.
Does an individual have to be near the dog to be considered it to be unleashed? Like if the dog breaks out and comes in my yard and decides to, which I've had that happen
Yep.
in my yard, I go out and I find little brown spots here and there, you know? Is that a situation where the owner is responsible because it wasn't leashed?
So
Or is that one of those gray areas?
I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure on what the policy is if the dog should get out and should leave something on someone's lawn. That would probably be more of a, usually it falls under the Board of Health on that area. However, common courtesy would be that you would probably take care of that matter to be a good neighbor and a good steward as a dog owner. But usually if the dog gets out, you try to take care of that situation. If you're talking about if it gets off leash, how long of a duration is it before it's considered? Mistakes happen, we understand that, so we try to, if it's numerous times or if it's after a certain amount of time, then that's when we start looking at it as a habitual or reoccurring situation. Obviously, if your dog gets out and it's one time per year and it's only for 5 minutes, that's a different situation. That's a mistake that happened and we understand that. Mistakes happen. Everybody lives busy lives and things happen.
I think that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else on the board have questions? Okay. I think that's it. Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you very much.
Is there any way I can say something else?
Is it okay to?
Yes, you haven't closed the hearing.
The last picture I sent also was, they keep saying the 21st or the 22nd when the dog went, Sunday or Saturday, that's okay. But I think on the 25th where the dog was still by the walkway, and I sent that picture also. So that was after the fact that they didn't listen. And it was on the leash, but it was still, not even by the walkway, it was in the walkway.
It was September 30th. Picture.
September 30th? Yeah.
I have a question for Mr. Bailey.
Sure.
Mr. Bailey,
Yes, sir.
you moved in 2021.
Yes, sir.
When did this issue with the dog start? I see we have 23 and 25 complaints, but when did the issue start, do you think?
Since 21, that winter with the neon vest and so forth, we're not like that. We gave them time. We were friendly with each other. I would cut their lawn, because she's an older woman, respectfully. And I would go, she would be cutting the lawn. I say, hey, I'll help you with that, and I'll cut the lawn almost every week. Clean up the trash. I clean up a whole bunch. Very friendly until the animals started interfering and pooping in our driveway. And I would talk with them like, listen, this is not okay. I have a basketball hoop. We play basketball. I come outside and there's duck poop all over the driveway. They would, yeah, you did. Doesn't matter though. It shouldn't be there. They would wash it with the hose and so forth. But, I said, please don't let it happen. It keep happening day after day, like week after week, month after month. And so it got to the point where we got tired in 23, 2 years. That's when we really started making the calls. Because it was too much now. 2 years of dealing with that to this day, that's unfair.
With all due respect, I understand ducks are another issue.
No, I know, but I was just giving you an example. It was everything.
Okay.
The ducks, the dog, everything. They have a black dog also that would go and poop also in others' yards. So it's not just one dog.
He does not leave the property, Leroy, that's a lie.
That is not true. Took a dump in Lynn's yard the other day, and Lynn called John and said, John, come get your dog. Am I lying?
Did that happen?
That was Rami.
No, it was the black dog. It was Blackie. Stop it.
I have a question for Pinkowski's. How long have you had the dog? How long have you owned it?
Let's see,
2018,
2016?
Oh, yeah, could be
It was way
16.
before COVID.
Their former ACO gave it to us,
Mm-hmm.
About 6 years, you said?
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Almost 10 years.
10 years?
Since 16.
Yeah, she was confiscated in Holden for a drug bust, and Rutland got called because Holden's ACO wasn't answering. And the guy, I guess, wasn't able to take the dog back, and she was in the pound for like 2 weeks. So we asked about it, and
Laura gave her
like I
us.
work right there, I saw the dog every day, and she turned out to be a wonderful dog.
You said at one point that the dog slipped out of the collar. Is that correct? I mean, was that a common occurrence? Because I don't see too many
Not
dogs if
for
it's fit
her.
right that the collar gets out.
The
you know?
black dog, the big black dog we have, he has slipped out of his collar, but he doesn't go anywhere. He's a really big dog, and I think
He's a
10 or 11
mastiff,
years
and he's
old, so
old, and
he's
he's
very
crippled.
old. Rami has never slipped out of a collar, and I believe she slipped out because I shortened the lead at the request of the ACO, and it was shorter than she was used to, and she pulled it off and right over her head. And the reason that she spends a lot of time in the front yard is because she's obsessed with food. She's obese, and it's gonna start affecting her health. And if we put her out in the backyard, she eats the bird food, she eats bird poop, or she gets sprayed by a skunk. And that itself is enough to make you not wanna put your dog in that situation. And she loves to be with me, so I do a lot of work in the driveway, in the garage, and she's close by.
I'm a big fan of dogs. And nothing scares me. But my wife is petrified of cats. So whenever we go anywhere, they have to lock up their cats.
Cats are crazy sometimes.
What I'm bringing up here is, not everybody can handle dogs. There are people, whether the dog is frightening or not, are scared of dogs, just like my wife is scared of cats. So, with that being said, do you understand how some people can be afraid of that little dog?
I do. People, not everyone's a dog person. I know that. And the Baileys probably couldn't read the dog's body language when he described her as getting ready to viciously attack at the edge of the sidewalk. The dog had a very happy, playful stance in that picture. Anybody that knows anything about dogs would see that right away. It's just, there's a long history of exaggerating with every call to the town to manipulate the town to responding. There's always a story to go along with what he perceives as an incident.
Does Rami visit the neighbors quite a bit? I mean, if it's chasing chipmunks or moles or whatever.
There are a lot of rabbits in our neighborhood.
So I'm thinking he's all over the place.
She does go all, she goes
likes to go
down the
across the street
street,
to
she
the
goes up the
barbecue.
street, but she really likes to get in back of us in a little patch of woods between us and Central Tree Road. She likes to go in there. I guess there's good hunting in there, I guess. She's been up in the conservation land. I had to go up there and get, if she escapes and I know it, I go right, I don't do anything until I get her back. If I don't know it, then I'm not out looking for her, you know, like when her collar slipped off. I wasn't out looking for her because I didn't know she was loose.
Do you house the dog at all?
She sleeps in our bed.
I mean, like during the day,
Oh, during the day?
Yeah, she's mostly an indoor dog.
mostly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having a very hard time understanding if she's an in-house dog and she's on a collar, how does she get out to all these neighbors then? How does she get there?
She wants to be wherever I am, and I'm outside, concentrating on something and not her. And a few times, it was a lack of communication between my wife and I. I had the gate open to bring something through, and the dog was in the house, she'd let the dog out the back, and then right out the gate, because I was, busy moving things, and that's happened several times. None of it has been on purpose or carelessly just letting the dog out the door and hoping for the best. I care about this dog way too much to do that.
Well, I would say every dog owner that I've ever met cares a lot about their animals. Okay, but we still have to face this issue of your dog getting out a lot.
Yeah, that's the only thing that, she or we are guilty of, is her escaping, and we try our best to prevent that. But, I think the double gate on the front door is a good idea, like make a foyer with a secondary boundary.
Do you let your dog out at night?
Supervise, just.
On a leash? Or in the backyard with the fence?
Usually in the backyard, when we were putting the birds away, they come out with us one last time. And that's when she should be going to the bathroom one last time, but she's too busy hunting. And then when we go in the house, she comes with us without having done her business. And then half hour later, she gotta go out again and take care of it. She's a fine little dog.
Mr. Bailey,
Yes, sir.
how often would you say the dog comes into your yard? Every day, every other day, 3 times a day, 10 times a day, what?
I'd say monthly. Monthly.
Your dog comes in monthly?
Yes, even at 10 o'clock at night, we have the dog on our Ring camera after 10 p.m.
Yeah. And that's when you find the dog does its business?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, I've seen Kendra, one time I was outside and she opened the screen door, and then 30 seconds later, I saw the dog walking on the street, came outside, and then she opened the screen door and the dog went back inside. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes.
Got by her that time.
I've seen it.
Okay. Okay.
Any other
Yeah,
questions?
just Mr. Bailey, you mentioned the fence in your initial statement that you had to, I'm just trying to understand what you meant by that. Was that your fence that you had to fix or their fence you had to, I'm just trying to clarify that.
We asked them if they were willing to go half on a fence. They weren't. We couldn't have the dilapidated fence continue for the animals to keep coming over and so forth, including the dog. So I talked with them and he refused, so I had to get a lawyer to talk with the town, and I had to do a boundary lines to, I found out where my property was and where his was. He refused to move the fence, so we had to get a lawyer to get a fence that would keep the animals in.
So, sorry, just to clarify, so this was a adjoining fence that was originally there when you moved in, or?
It was like a fence that parted.
Yeah,
both,
so
yes.
you both had one fence line
Yes, it's
going
one fence,
between the
yeah.
yards.
Yes.
And so it had fallen over at some point.
Yes, multiple times.
And you were trying to work with them to replace it.
Correct.
And they did not want to.
No.
Okay. And that was in an attempt to remedy the dogs and the birds getting over.
100%.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Help me understand, I'm looking at your Jankowski's, I'm looking at the property. It looks like it's a pretty deep driveway that goes back 30, 40 feet. Does that make sense? If you're working in the driveway, as you said you were, and the dog likes to stay out there with you working on the driveway, help me understand why the dog would be close to the sidewalk if you're working, towards the back with the garages and the 30, 40 foot driveway. Why, help me understand this.
The lead was long enough where it was attached, so she could reach me and, out onto the sidewalk. And she could choose between whatever was more interesting at the time. She likes to lay in the grass up there, the driveway's uncomfortable to lay on a lot, she's really into the comfort thing. And I'd like to address the fence a little bit too.
piggyback on that question if I may. I'm looking at the property on Google Maps, so I just see the front of the house. Mr. Bailey, if we're looking at the front of the house, is your house to the left of or to the right?
So their driveway is here, where their garage is, where he works in it,
You're on the
on the left side. He has the dog in the front yard, and nobody's watching the dog. He's around there.
And my question for the Jankowskis is where is generally the lead tied or kind of staked?
It's about midway between, next to the driveway. Between me and, I was just concerned about it going in the street. I
Is it
didn't
one of
think
the
about the side.
is it one of the corkscrew ones in the ground kind of? Is that how it's?
No, we have a couple of ducks that can't live with the rest of the flock, so we have a small caged in area in the front.
Okay.
And the lead I can move, easily, because I set it up like that, and I had it on that fence that, with a class, she can't, get off of it.
Thank you.
So she could reach me or the sidewalk, I guess.
Thank you
That's
for
the
helping me
assumption.
orient. Sorry, Alex.
It's fine.
Any other questions? Either party? If there's nothing else, are we comfortable to close the hearing and discuss?
I don't think so. I am. I got what I needed.
Comfortable, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Alright, roll call, Alex,
Vote
Second aye.
Lemonade.
ledger aye. Alright, so per the process with the public hearing closed, it is now to the board to deliberate on the determination. I would like to start with just the determination on whether or not the board would like to deem the dog Rami as a nuisance dog or not, and then depending on that, we'll move with any remediation.
Can we mention again the definition of a nuisance dog? I'm sorry.
Is it just in the
Yes.
packet that?
It's whether a dog is a nuisance, meaning that a dog, one, by excessive barking or other disturbance is a source of annoyance to a sick person residing in the vicinity, or two, by excessive barking causing damage or other interference, a reasonable person would find such behavior disruptive to one's quiet and peaceful enjoyment, or three, has threatened or attacked livestock or domestic animal or a person, but such threat or attack was not a grossly disproportionate reaction under all the circumstances. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, with this being a nuisance dog hearing, we need to either, it states, where did it go? Determine if it is a nuisance dog or dismiss, correct?
Correct.
Those are the two.
Yes. And if it's deemed, can I ask,
Yes,
if it's deemed as a nuisance, then we can prescribe, recommendations for actions, for corrective actions.
Yep.
But if it's dismissed, then there's no, it's just kind of suggestions, but.
Right. That's my understanding. Anybody have initial thoughts to offer?
I guess for me, being a dog owner all my life, except for these later years, in terms of what I do, I think the owners have an obligation to control their dog. And I understand it's a nice dog. I understand it's a friendly dog. But they still have an obligation to control the dog. So the fact that the dog is constantly getting away from them, going onto neighbors' properties, and I know Jack Russell's, I can't say we can't do anything. So I guess for me, unfortunately, it falls to the dog in this discussion, which I don't feel it should. But for me, I would consider it a nuisance dog under number 2.
I think, Harry, I'm kind of in line with you. I'm a dog person and a dog owner and a dog lover, and I realize that there are a lot of people who aren't. And I think having a dog that continually escapes, wanders a neighborhood, and whether or not the Baileys are comfortable with dogs or not, we don't know, but we have heard that the children are hesitant to be outside, and I think that that is a level of fear that we need to be mindful of also. And so I think if it was a once in a while occurrence or something, but it seems to be a fairly frequent occurrence, and I understand that it's the nature of the dogs and everything, but I feel in order to put some teeth behind the recommendations to try to enforce some amicable situation for both the dog and all families, that is kind of the path we need to pursue.
I personally know of two experiences with the invisible fences, okay? They worked very well in both cases, and I think that's something that's probably being worthwhile as far as considering something to do like that.
What would you consider it, Paul? A nuisance dog or not a nuisance dog?
I would, at this point in time, consider it basically, from what we've heard, is to be a nuisance dog. But, you know, by the same token, I've owned dogs in my lifetime too. And so, you know, I can say to myself, yeah, I can understand what a nuisance dog is, but I have also a very good understanding of what the invisible fences have done.
Yeah, I mean, the dog is getting out a lot, whether it's going to the Bailey's property or not, it's still getting out to other houses, whether they're okay with it or not, doesn't necessarily make it okay. I think that I'm still struggling to understand why the dog is so close to the sidewalk. I mean, I heard the explanation with the concerns that have obviously been brought up by the Baileys, whether it's a constant complaint or whether, you know, whatever they're looking for here, it's a complaint that was made to the dog owners, and to not really follow through with that. I mean, I get that the lease was shortened, but I mean, just as recently as September 30th, there's a picture quite clearly of the dog on the sidewalk. It's a struggle to hear that there's a problem and that, you know, people are saying that they're addressing it, but really it's still happening. A dog getting out constantly, and by constantly, even if it's once a month, that's a lot. I mean, I had an electric fence for my last dog at my last house, and my dog got out once in a year and a half, having an electric fence. And before the electric fence, she was running around whenever a squirrel passed by. So, I mean, I think that there's fixes to this and there's solutions. I mean, I struggled again to understand why the dog can't be more in the backyard. I get that there's reasons there. Personally, I think that remedying those issues and putting the dog more towards the back of the house makes more sense to me. But we're not here to discuss the birds or any of that nature. We're here to discuss the dog. So I see solutions, I guess, is my point, to how the dog can be handled in a more reasonable manner. That is still a good way to handle a dog and appropriate. So I guess I would be in agreement under number 2.
I echo the board's sentiments, and not to, you know, reiterate everything that's said, because I agree with it, but I just, to me, being a parent, you have a concern with your own young child being able to be out in your own yard, let alone walking by somebody else's yard, due to the fact that the dog is continuing to get out. So that is a concern to me, that you're having trouble enjoying your own property. So I would also agree that just the fact that there's a long history of the dog being off leash, which is a violation of the bylaws, and being on public property, unrestrained, and just the continued instances of this happening, I would also agree that it would be a nuisance dog under reason number 2.
What was number 2? What was the wording on that?
By excessive barking causing damage or other interference, a reasonable person would find such behavior disruptive to one's quiet and peaceful enjoyment.
Thank you.
Can I say, I know it's closed, but can I say one more thing?
I would like to have the board finish. All right, so it sounds like the board is in agreement with a nuisance dog designation. Before we do a motion, do we want to discuss any?
Remedies?
If I
I
may,
think-
they should be two separate motions.
Two separate motions, okay, all right. Then I will, for as far as the first one, let me see.
Can I just say, I move that the select board, having conducted a hearing pursuant to MGL chapter 140, section 157, and having considered all credible evidence and testimony presented, finds that the dog known as Rami, owned by John and Kendra Jankowski and residing at 14 Skyline Drive, is a nuisance dog as defined by law, due to, following reason 2, excessive barking causing damage or other interference, a reasonable person would find behavior disruptive to one's quiet and peaceful enjoyment and the continual escape from confined property.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Alex?
Vote aye.
Second, aye.
Whitman, aye.
That's enough.
Ledger, aye. Thank you. All right, and then if we want to discuss any remedial action.
So if I heard correctly, ACO DeCiro's recommendation is to kind of, under confinement and control, to kind of shorten the leash and ensure that it's farther, the stake is, or the tether is moved farther off the sidewalk, as well as providing a fence or secondary containment at the doorways to prevent the dog from continually escaping. I think those make sense, as well as if it is off leash or off property, that it's maintained on a lead. If they wanna take it to the conservation land or whatever, it's still on a lead that they have control over. Then I think I think we had two different pieces of documentation, one that showed that as of September 23rd in the morning, it had not been licensed, but then I think it's showing with a current tag of 1549. I'm not 100% sure if that's the current tag for right now, the rabies vaccination being current. So just to ensure that the dog is licensed, that there's that documentation. As far as barking prevention, it seems, if I understood correctly, it seemed to be the barking was more of an aggression towards, or reaction towards people along the sidewalk in the street. So I don't know how the board feels if just moving the dog off the street would potentially alleviate some of that.
I agree with that. My one request would be to have the dog leashed further back from the sidewalk, but come up with some sort of, a specific location, frontage from, back, set back from the sidewalk. That cannot extend past. And then I think to your point, that might assist, because it doesn't sound like it's with every person, and I don't know that we can say for sure what the cause of the barking is. So if we can just keep the dog back, I think that might.
And that there's, and maintain the review period that we allow. Sorry, Harry.
No. Personally, Jack Russells are gonna bark. I don't care if they're 50 feet away or 200. If they sense something, they're gonna bark. But I do agree that having it within 2 to 3 feet of a sidewalk is not appropriate. It needs to be back a lot further. I don't know how much property you have there. Maybe Mr. Tessier could give us some idea of what he would recommend.
Mr. Jankowski, how far back does your property go? Cause I could guess, but I don't wanna.
In the backyard,
From the edge of your house back,
uh,
cause I've been to his property, so I know kind of
I
roughly where
think
it
the
is.
whole lot is 180 feet long.
So if you're looking for my recommendation,
Well, I was thinking of the front.
yeah,
If you like, yeah.
so I'm sorry, you're looking for the
Well, for
distance from
example,
the
we
front?
want it off the sidewalk, but we want it back far enough
Yep.
where somebody could walk by, even if the dog barks. It's a distance enough to give them a little feel of safety.
So I would say probably from the street to the front of his house is probably 10 feet, and that would probably be enough.
How much?
10 feet.
The town has an easement from the curb back onto my front lawn, I believe it's 15 feet, and there's a concrete marker on my lawn, and that's probably 5 to 6 feet from the sidewalk. And I would think that if she was kept off the town easement part, you know, cause they have that for snow removal and construction and whatever. If she is in back of that easement away from the sidewalk.
But
then
you're talking what, 3 feet, 5 feet?
No, it's 5 to 6 feet, I think, off the sidewalk.
I think in my head I was thinking 10
I was
That's what
thinking
I was thinking,
10,
10.
yeah.
10.
Yeah, so I would go with your recommendation on that.
I mean, I still think that, and I'm fine with the 10 feet is maybe not even far enough, to be honest.
Yeah, how much is one of these tables, about 5 feet?
That's 6 feet.
6 feet, so,
Yeah.
okay, two of those end to end, all right.
I mean, somebody who's afraid of dogs, and you know, I'm not specifically stating that as the reason why we would require this, but I mean, somebody afraid of dogs does not wanna get 10 feet away from a dog. I mean, especially a child, I think it was mentioned 11-year-old, you know, that's still very close for somebody who is afraid of a dog. But I mean, looking at the property, I think the front of the house or the front yard, it looks like it probably only goes about 15 feet back, maybe 20 feet total. So, you know, if we go further than that, it's not really giving any room in the front.
For me personally, I'm trying to be fair to all involved because the option is an a wireless electric fence. But if you can control the dog, my feeling is, and you can keep him from getting out, then that's not something the board could, or we could, but not, I don't think we really wanna do that to be fair to all parties.
If I put up a physical fence in the front yard and kept her off the sidewalk with that, would that be okay? Cause an electric fence is like $5,000 or something.
Yeah, I'd have to go to the board on that and say, I don't know what kind of fence you'd use, how tall it is, we'd have to kind of leave that up to the ACO, cause he knows what is required for dogs. I don't know how everybody else feels, but, so that's why we're going with the 10 feet,
I
I
was gonna
think.
say, at this point, I'm going based on there is no fence currently, and there's no guarantee that that's gonna go up, so this is based on what is there at the current time.
Yeah, I mean, I think putting a fence up would be a viable option in the front. I think that would probably help. I can't imagine that putting a fence, an actual physical fence is cheaper than an electric fence, having done an electric fence in the past. I even had, I overpaid for it. Granted, this is now 5+ years ago, but it was like $1,500, and I overpaid for it, so I think there's cheaper options. I will say though, from an electric fence standpoint, a dog with a strong prey drive is not necessarily contained by an electric fence. That likely will not contain a dog, with a high prey drive. I'd love to find a way to keep the dog, for the most part, in the backyard. I understand that that's not necessarily an option, but it just would solve, that problem. And being fenced in, or is it not fully fenced in?
The backyard is.
Just not the front.
Oh, so this picture's
There's
probably
different
outdated.
kinds of fence.
Yeah, we've had 5-foot-high, wire fence, put in with stakes to hold it up, it's all attached together, there's a gate on it.
It's a wire fence, like
She
at
has never gotten through that.
the end of the driveway is a 5-foot wire fence. Okay, in the picture, just, I can't see a fence, but that's just because it's hard to see.
I know, I almost wish, and I don't know the property, if there was a way to tether her closer to the house and driveway, so she could have access to the driveway if you're working in the driveway, but still maintain off the sidewalk.
Could move the birds.
But I'm not familiar with the, I'm just looking at kind of Google Maps, so,
Against the cut.
I think I get the sense from the board that we're trying to work with both the Baileys and address your concerns as well as the Jankowskis and address your concerns and try to find that happy medium.
The 10 feet is fine with us. The fence is gonna be makeshift and it's not gonna work because we've had that issue before, and that's why we had to put up a new fence.
I think a fence, the best fence would almost be like a picket fence or something, a boarded fence so that the dog couldn't see through to be barking and reactive if there are people on the street. That adds obviously a lot of expense and everything.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that as just mentioned, the neighbor's fine with 10 feet from the sidewalk. I think if that's what we put in place for now, and hopefully that can find some happy ground and things work out. I think if there was 10 feet, I think that the Jankowskis would be acceptable for that. I mean, cause that seems like a very reasonable
Yeah,
request.
I think so too.
So I think that if we can find that common ground and make that work, and then, we can make sure that there's no further issues there. If that's,
Alright, so we have to have the dog restrained
Can I ask, sorry, when you say 10 feet, are you
from
saying
the sidewalk.
the dog is 10 feet, not
can't go-
tethered?
Correct.
Right, so
Right.
alright, okay.
She has to be at her farthest on the leash,
10
10
feet from the
feet prior
sidewalk.
to the sidewalk. She can't
Thank
get
you.
within that 10-foot
Gotcha.
buffer.
Okay.
So having a 10-foot buffer from the sidewalk into the property that the dog needs to be restricted from. Having the gate at the front door.
Secondary escape proof
Yep.
exit or whatever.
As a secondary. Just getting the verification that the registration is up to date, and then the review period, having animal control monitor compliance with the conditions for a period of 6 months from the date of this order.
And I just, with the confinement, just ensuring that it's a well-fitting leash, or a well-fitting collar.
Mhm.
And if the dog is off, if the Jankowskis are taking the dog off property at all, that it's leashed per the 6-foot leash law and everything.
I was gonna say for we use martingale collars for our dogs so that they can't slip. It keeps it loose, but if they do pull on the leash, it prevents them from slipping out of their collars. So it just might be an option for you to just let the horse go.
And it's not pronged or anything,
No,
so,
no,
yeah,
no,
I
it's
would-
just
yeah.
a regular collar, yeah. Okay, so we have those items listed. Alright, so any other discussion or
And I don't think we wanna necessarily put hours because the barking seems to be secondary to kind of just environment and less of a concern than.
restraining seems to be the big.
Particularly, they said the dog most of the time is inside, it's a house dog, so shouldn't be a problem at night.
Okay, any other discussion or whatnot? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to move that the select board order the following remedial actions to be taken by the dog's owner or keeper in order to ameliorate the nuisance behavior as described.
So moved.
Motion second. Any other discussion? Alright, roll call. Alex?
would I?
Second eye?
Whitman, aye.
Matt's and I.
Ledger I. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate
Thank
your
you.
coming and providing information.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you very much.
Alright. We have chunk of our agenda left to go. I'm gonna go back up to communications, member comments, announcements, and town administrator update. I will fly through updates. We had Lou in earlier. The flagpole dedication ceremony was this past Saturday, so I wanted to thank Lou again for his efforts to get that installed, as well as all of those who donated to the project. Public safety is still accepting candy donations for the trunk or treat. There are 4 public hearings that have been scheduled for Monday, October 20th for the street acceptance. And October 23rd is the select board meeting, currently joint with FinCom, to discuss the warrant for a special town meeting, which is scheduled for November 20th. October 23rd is also the public information session for the stormwater bylaw, which is going to be on the warrant for special town meeting, hopefully, before it votes. That is at 7 p.m. on October 23rd, over in the Blair Room here at the library. The annual license renewal process has begun. Businesses have received notification from our town offices and the Board of Health. Naquag PTO Fall Fest is on Friday, October 17th at 5 p.m. That's this Friday. Just a reminder about yard waste drop off at the DPW on this coming Saturday, the 18th, from 8 to 1. November 1st is going to be the last day for that. And I have all my notes here, but there was an MMA article that the state will be hosting public hearings to review the K through 12 school finance formula. So I just wanted to put that out there publicly, that they're just right here in the article, it just states, we strongly encourage educators, families, community leaders, and stakeholders to attend these sessions and let us know what is working and where we need to make changes. Of course, this is the Chapter 70 funding formula that really needs some updates with regards to how much the municipalities have to pay and contribute. So just for our area, there's a session on October 30th at Doherty Memorial High School from 4:30 to 6:30. And there is a virtual public comment hearing on November 18th from 4 to 7. And then you can also send any written comments to an email address, which is C as in Charlie 70 publiccomments@mass.gov. So anybody that wants to provide feedback can do so through those forms. That's all I have. Is there any other member comments or announcements?
Jen, we'll put that on the website too, so people have access.
Yeah, that'd be great. All right, if there's no other comments from the members, I will turn it over to acting TM.
Okay, through the chair, thank you this evening. Nick just walked out, but I want to congratulate the police department for they received two grants from the Office of Public Safety. One was the Justice Assistance Grant. They received a grant for $18,554. The second grant was a Traffic Safety Program grant through EOPS. That was given out to 210 communities throughout the Commonwealth. Rutland received $24,989. So congratulations to the police department for great success on grant writing. So things that have been talked about in finance, Wachusett Regional School District is reached out to the 5-member towns through the administrator group that they want to meet on October 28th at our normal monthly meeting to start discussing the maintenance agreement with the schools. This is a 10-year agreement that's up for renewal for all 5 towns. So they want to negotiate or start open dialogue between all 5 towns on that. So we'll bring back feedback from that initial kickoff meeting, and if they want to expand the group to include select board members, finance committee members, or whatever, so we will have that information for you in November. So that is moving forward. At our department head meeting 2 weeks ago, I distributed a job analysis questionnaire to each non-union employee. This will help better define duties, responsibilities, and qualifications of their existing positions that they're currently in. We've gathered all the job descriptions that we could find throughout the town for various positions held. We want to make sure that the people that are working in these positions, that the roles and responsibilities are clearly defined within that job description, so we're trying to clean that up. get that done. The success of this is not only for the person in the position currently, but we want to set up that job description for their successor, that it meets current needs and responsibilities of that department. So we are working on that. Let's see, the trash hauler procurement process. The negotiation committee has met last week between the three participating towns. It's an ongoing process. I will keep you updated as that continues to move forward. And that's all I have. I did on the, I won't go over tonight the free cash. You have the presentation in front of in your packet. It was presented to the finance committee meeting last week. So if you wanted to watch it, you could watch it online. I think I've kind of emailed you the highlights of where the free cash money has come from. You know, Donna and Nick did a great job during that whole process, and it's been a very successful year for us. So again, I just want to congratulate Chief Monaco on his 2 grants now that he's back.
Oh, thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. Any other questions for Seth on his update?
I do have a question for you. It's a little off topic, but can you update the board? Maybe there's nothing, but can you update the board on the status of the interim town planner?
Okay, yep. Planning board tonight, just so you update you, the interim town planner has given her notice that she will be leaving the position very shortly. She'll be stepping back, and it's up to the planning board tonight if they want to keep her on as part-time until we can get someone in place to help them through the hearing process and stuff that's going on. They've been given their job description for the planner's position to really go through, clean it up, and make sure it's what they're, between the 2 planners that we've had, that is it really, the job description really fit what the person is doing. So once we get that information back, we'll have it on a future agenda for you guys to approve a permanent job description for that position, and then we'll post it for the permanent position and start that process. So we are working on that right now. So I'm just, again, it's off week, so the planning board's meeting the same night as we are tonight due to the holidays.
Okay.
If I may follow up a little bit on that, through the chair. Is there any work being done to address the public decorum, the way the public has been treating staff in a number of the positions, not solely that position, but other positions also? Because I think that it's been quite a hostile environment for a number of current and previous employees that is driving that. And I think that boards and committees need to be aware of that, as well as the public, to hold the public accountable, because what I've seen is wholly inappropriate.
I agree. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. We will move into the FY26 budget. Seth, you just noted that we're not gonna go into a lot of detail on the free cash.
Yeah.
So I think we'll focus mostly on the budget document that's before us for the adjustments to the FY26 operating budget.
Through the chair, it's this packet that's in the blue here. Again, basically just want to, high level, you guys have seen pretty much most of this document from early on. That finance director had pretty much started putting together a list of line items that could be restored through raise and appropriated through local receipts. Local receipt estimate that we could potentially raise and appropriate is $479,947 in additional funds that could be available and appropriated at town meeting. I met with each department, we went through everything, finance director did a phenomenal job. We basically broke it out into buckets, what could be raised and appropriated at the special town meeting through local receipts. Some use of free cash for one-time expenses, the Collins Center, restoration of the reserve fund, things of that nature, that would not be recurring in future years, were pulled out and put in the free cash column, which is second from the right-hand side. And then the last column is the closeout of prior year articles. This only impacts the library. As you guys had spoke to the library board of trustees, that they would like to repurpose the funds that were could be potentially closed out for the projects here at the library. So this will be an individual article for that. So basically, I met with the finance committee last week. We went through these pretty specifically. They had some questions. We made some modifications at their recommendation. What's in front of you is pretty much what they've recommended so far. They did ask that the boards and commissions, which would be a separate article because it requires a 2/3 vote at a special town meeting to restore boards and commission salaries, be proposed to be put back. So to restore line items within the operating budget is $407,145 from raise and appropriate, $120,088 from free cash, and $34,935.16 from moving and transferring the articles to the library. The special article for boards and commission would only add $7,825 to restore to last year's levels. If approved and both these articles had passed, there'd be available capacity of $64,977 that could be. So if that is not spent or not used, then we will just reduce in some areas within local receipts to offset that.
I have a question, and it's not specific about this. Thank you, Seth and Donna, for doing all of this, and Nick for sending the finance team and everybody working on it. Has there been any conversation if we are proposing, and I know we have some capital recommendations before us as well, and sorry it came in too late today for me to spend a lot of time with it. So I don't know what the free cash, the potential remaining free cash would look like after town meeting.
Yep.
Is there any conversation about moving any available free cash funds into one of the stabilization funds?
Yes.
So especially now that a lot of them don't require the 2/3 town meeting vote, and I think from an investment standpoint, we might be able to invest a little bit more aggressively from a stabilization fund. I don't know for sure, I'm not at all a finance person.
So Article 2, 3, and 4 is to put the 5% that we should have put in last year, the 5% of this year, and anything that was spent out of them at the annual town meeting, capital and OPEC. So the proposal would be to put $164,000 into general stabilization, $254,000 into capital, and $294,000 into OPEC trust.
Yep.
If everything that was proposed, every article you approved, there would be 1.35 remaining for next year.
And that's what I'm asking with that 1.35 remaining to move to one of the stabilization accounts, whether it's general or capital, because then I'm not sure if it makes sense if there's an ability to do some more aggressive investment from a stabilization fund, or if we just hang on to it in our general fund. But it seems like if we have $1 million sitting there.
So if it goes into a stabilization fund, the investment income stays in that fund. It's not, that's correct.
It stays in the state, but I think that's what she's suggesting,
Okay.
that maybe it would be better for us to
Okay.
build some investment into the stabilization fund. That's what I think
Right,
you're
yeah,
going.
Especially given that I think most of the, now the state a few years ago, I believe, removed the 2/3 vote requirement to be able to spend out of stabilization. So if we don't need,
It's majority in, 2/3 out.
I thought it was majority, I thought it was capital was 2/3, but general was majority out.
I think it's majority in, 2/3 out.
I know it used to be that way. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm still
we'll
just
verify,
wondering
yeah.
if it makes sense to do it that way to try to build some of our stabilization accounts more aggressively.
We
But
can discuss that and see. The problem with that is we're anticipating local revenue from investment income.
Yep.
So if we're shifting it into capital or targeted stabilization, we may be reducing what would be coming in on the local revenue side. That would be the only,
And maybe it's a play with numbers, I don't know,
Right,
I just am trying to think of ways, because I know we have a lot of capital that has been severely neglected.
I think especially the capital, to build that, because we're trying, yeah. But I agree, it's, you're kinda doing this.
yeah.
So I just wanted to put it out there,
Sure.
it's a numbers game that I don't know and I don't fully understand, but in
Yep.
trying to think of ways to try to make our money work for us
Sure.
in the most bang for the buck. And you guys, I'm sending it out there to you
Okay.
guys.
We will look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Through the chair.
Oh, go ahead, Carrie.
What's the, I have a tendency for a big purchase not to want to spend cash but to borrow, because it's very cost effective that way. So my question is, what's the interest rate out there for borrowing, given our rating for the town?
So we're currently AA plus community, so it depends on the size of the borrowing you're looking to do. I mean, I've seen anywhere on the most recent reoffering yields from Unibank, they range anywhere between 3.5 to mid fives.
Depending on the bond type?
Bond rating, the community, size of the borrowing.
Okay.
And I know that's something that Austin had told us, we have a lot of debt coming off and it's a good thing for us to have,
Right.
so it might be worthwhile for any of
Well,
these capital.
particularly in capital, I mean, we are so undercapitalized in equipment and everything else out there that, you know, that's just my thought. How to not get there in light years, but get there in starship years, you know?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Nick.
So pretty much everything on this original packet that you have, everything is laid out, basically free cash plan. If every article was approved, what the remaining balances are, water and sewer retained earnings. There's only one question I need to ask you tonight. OPEG trust fund for water and sewer, it's 5%, but you had the OPEG actual done last year. When was that for water and sewer? When was that last done?
Was it last year or this year? You just had it done, the OPEB report.
The Gatsby, that was just done.
Okay, so the question is, we may be funded appropriately currently in water and sewer OPEC, so there's additional proposal right now to put 40,000 additional in there from retained earnings. It may not be needed. Do you wanna put it there, or do you want me to just take it off and just leave it in retained earnings?
If I've not read the report, so I don't know exactly, but just to give my opinion
Sure.
is, so it might not be that in their opinion, we're funded for the water and sewer, but in my opinion, we can only use it for water and sewer employees.
Right.
And right now, we have 26 years available. So if we need that money for other things, that's why it's
Okay.
my opinion not to fund the water and sewer one. I am totally in support of the general fund one. I just wanna make it clear, the reporting could be differently, cause they're gonna look at it much differently than I'm looking at it in the next 5 years, you know, in 10 years, that we're funded for about 26 years in that right now, because we have so few employees in the water and sewer department. And it could only be used for water and sewer.
So I'll leave that to your discretion, you can think about it. And the other one is the stormwater retained earnings. This was a oversight on the annual town meeting. We need to vote a three-year lease. It's gonna be authorized by town meeting vote, so that's gonna be in front of you. They're gonna use the $69,000 for the first year payment from retained earnings, which would have been paid from last year's money. And then there's a lot of stuff coming up right now through Weston Sampson, that he's been moving on that stuff very well. So it's gonna leave 141,000 retained earnings. In stormwater, general stabilization, we're currently at 1.35, we're gonna go to 1.5 with the money going in. Capital stabilization, there's two items here. One is for the fire department pickup truck. The current pickup truck will go to water water department to replace their old cruiser that they got 2013.
And we're not gonna trade that, right?
No, we're not gonna trade it, it's just being transferred down.
Right.
CIPC also approved a new security system for the public safety building. The 100,000 was a placeholder, it's much higher. We're looking at a potential other revenue source to pay for that. And I will have more update on that as well. And again, the OPEC trust fund and water and sewer gives you the balances. And the final page is basically the itemized or the rundown of expenditures through the town administrator's salary line item from the prior interim TA through me. And then if we were to hire someone on December 1st and you paid them at the extremely high rate that's on the very top, you would get through the entire fiscal year without having to add any additional funds to that. When you look at the original line items on these, we did fully fund the appropriation to 140,000 because that was the minimum. That way next year's bump won't be as drastic. If anything, it'll go back to free cash or it can be transferred after May.
I think that's the most transparent, that's what
Yeah.
we're showing the public that we want, sorry Jen, that we want to, the minimum that we're offering.
Yeah. So I think last week's finance committee meeting was very productive. They were very happy with the information that they received. They've looked at this and they feel pretty confident that we're going in the right direction. It really comes up to you if we moved enough money, if you wanted more money put into free cash and less from raise and appropriate, I think we try to balance it and try to use the free cash for one-time purposes. But again, without any, true, I think we came up with a plan and that's what's before you.
Question? Seth, on the fire pickup?
Yep.
I know what we're doing there. Will there be a cost or can DPW take care of whatever needs to be done to move that over?
They're taking everything. They're taking the plow, all the lights, everything. We're just giving them the keys, they're driving
They're
away.
not taking the computers and stuff?
No, we're just taking the radio out, they're putting their radio in, they'll re-letter it, and they'll change the lenses from red to amber. So
Okay.
it'll be a fully outfitted truck for them, and should last them another 5 to 7 years.
Chris should thank you,
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions, comments? Good? Okay, so no action tonight, just for
Just information,
for next
yes.
week, okay.
We're trying to make the meeting with the finance committee on the 23rd as quickly as efficient as possible. So basically what you see here will be in an article form. The adjustment will be in an article form.
I think Donnie, you had spoken to this, sorry if I may.
No, please.
You're as comfortable as you can be with the raise and appropriate amounts, for this, finishing out this fiscal year, realizing that it may not continue into next fiscal year.
So, yes, if we feel this is the need to function for this fiscal year 26, I am comfortable signing the local revenue to the amount that I provided. That is the absolute highest. It is not how I would recommend it, it's not how I would want us to go, but if that's where we are now, I am comfortable because I'm required to sign that piece of paper for the Department of Revenue. It provides, I think we should be about 80% of revenues, we're at 94% with what I'm providing you. With what we're doing here. So it's a policy decision on going forward. It will certainly affect year end 26 with in 27 when our next free cash is certified. And I know the Department of Revenue will approve what I've done, but if we have any changes that are unforeseen,
Free cash is gonna,
it could be a problem, yes.
I mean,
But I think we're there. I mean, I don't mean to, I mean, again, I will sign it if that's the direction the Board and Finance Committee want to go. You're not putting me in a place where I could say I cannot sign that.
and I think that's what I wanted, if I may, Jen. I think we were very fortunate to have all the work that was done that created the amount of free cash that we have this year. And so I think trying to go in with a more progressive budget maybe in utilizing our local receipts and everything might be the way to go, to then have that transparency that this is what happens when you budget essentially to the max. And that's what that free cash is. And I hate playing with that $1.1 million free cash that we have, but we have it right now. And so to a little bit have that shift that we might not have much free cash next year, because that's what happens when you budget to essentially to capacity.
I mean, if you would like Donna to give me the 90% number and we move it down and I shift more towards free cash, I'm happy to do that.
I mean, I think personally, if Donna is comfortable signing it and FinCom is happy with it, and knowing that we had such a spectacular year with free cash for a whole host of reasons, that and I appreciate all the work that went into that. I think that the 94% number for this year, and we just communicate to the public that.
Okay.
You know, when we budget towards 80% and we have a full-time fiscally conservative town administrator and a full-time finance department and, you know, teams working together, that we are able to generate free cash. And if we're going to budget to max, then we're not. And it's how it is.
And I mean, as far as this is, it just keeps going back to our conversations about not using one-time funds for our operating expenses. So this is reflective of that.
Yeah.
And
That's why I try to carve out everything that could be technically one time and, you know, be clear to the people, so.
And I think that sets, as we start the fiscal year 27 budget conversation, knowing that, hey, these are recurring, this is the cost of recurring doing business. And we may have free cash, and that's great and should be really utilized for those one-time expenses, capital projects, and pre-engineering, engineering, whatever, design, and not to count on as a revenue source.
Okay, great,
So
thank you.
thank you all. Thank you, Donna.
yes, thank you. Okay, any other questions on that? Okay, moving on, we have the equity mandates and host community agreement policy. So this is a policy that we are required to have. It is overdue. I believe what we have in front of us has the comments from council. So we wanted to just have the board review and have any discussion on potential, anything that needs to go back to council this weekend, Seth?
Correct.
And then do the final approval at the next meeting?
Yes, cause there, Jen, if I may, town council had left some comments in there that kind of left it open to the board's discretion as to what you would like to do. So if you can provide us with that feedback, we'll send it back to town council to put it in proper form and then give you essentially a finalized document to consider for approval.
Question. Tamika, I had sent a list of questions on this. Did you ever get it?
I replied.
Oh,
Yes, I replied to the one specific question that you asked, and it sounded like the rest you wanted to have as a discussion with the board, so I didn't directly address that. One of your questions you had asked was, I believe, what is the definition of an equity partner?
yeah.
And that is essentially a business that meets the qualifications as a social equity business that would be looking to do a host community agreement with the town of Rutland.
What's a social equity business? I mean, I know these names, but it's like, it doesn't really say, well, it's a marijuana place, or it's a beer, whatever. What's a social equity?
So social equity, if I may, Jen, references so it would all be cannabis related, but it's related to essentially the ownership of the particular business. So the Cannabis Commission looks favorably on, for example, all women-owned businesses, or businesses owned by people of color, or they actually look favorably upon people that have been convicted of a crime and have now turned things around and are looking to start a business. So those are considered social equity businesses.
Okay.
I shouldn't use quotations, I apologize, the interpretation of it.
Basically, social issues, men, women, convicts, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think the two things that I wanted to ask the board about was, under the procedures section where we have, and this is one of the comments from council, was, the town administrator is the one reviewing the HCA applications. Is that something that we feel that should be the responsibility of the town administrator, or is there another designee? We have, not that I expect, a significant amount of these to come before the town, but, should it be limited to the town administrator? Is there a more appropriate position, or is there an designee?
If I
that
may,
could be?
I think Nick and Seth, I think you were here when the
first
original RFP
RFP
went out for the original one, and I believe I think it was Nicholson was the town administrator at the time, and I think he had kind of formed a committee among employees, including public safety, to kind of do an initial pass on, so it was kind of town administrator led, but not solely town administrator, to do the initial scoring, and then brought forth to the board the recommendations. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, that was done right in the middle of COVID. The RFP went out, there was a scoring rubric that the information that they provided, we scored it. It was public safety, board of health. I even think DPW was on it as well. Joe Buckley was on it.
Yeah, it felt like because
Yeah.
of location and
Yeah,
stuff.
and we basically went through it, we scored it, and then gave it back, and it was very well done. And I think it helped the board at the time make the decision who to award the RFP to at the time.
And I can, if I may, I personally like that because I think it expedites, having it sit in the town administrator's office expedites the process. But having input from kind of the relevant departments that are gonna need to help on the building enforcement, whatever side of things, I think was helpful. And so it made it expedited, it wasn't solely one person. And so it gave some confidence and different perspective to
Is that something that we can add into this, or is it just at the town administrator's discretion?
No, if that's what you would like it to say, we'll present that language to town council and they can phrase it in a way that's appropriate.
Cause I like that option, I like having the different perspectives and feedback that can inform the board. So I again, whatever the board feels, but I would be amenable to including language, to having that included.
So, complete application shall be forwarded by the town administrator or other town boards and but could we include that in there? For example, about seeking from other town boards, the net numbers instead of creating a whole new line?
Yeah, you could, yep.
So Jen, if I may just to clarify,
Or in number one even.
are you, so in addition to like the department heads being involved, you're looking for feedback from town boards and committees?
No,
yeah.
just departments, but
Yeah.
instead of creating a whole new section,
Yeah.
just work it in.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Number
Yeah.
one.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
And I think Board of Health was included, and I think that that's, I think that that's an important, cause they're an
Yeah,
elected
to
board.
the smell in the, so we had the health agent at the time.
Yes, yeah.
Take that role,
Yeah.
so.
And I'm not sure if it makes sense to have building involved or not.
Now it would be, now
so
it would be, yes.
I think you guys, you and Nick probably have a better sense as to the workflow of it, but I think that makes
Yep.
sense.
I agree.
Okay.
Number 5, consider waiving or reducing fees for equity partners. I'm torn on that one. We're probably gonna get maybe 1 or 2 every time we do it, so how much fee do we reduce? But again, if if it costs us a lot of money, then I would wanna see some kind of fees. I mean, if it's gonna be, and I don't know what fees for equity partners, but if it's $300, $400, $500, I wouldn't wanna see that waived. If it's $50 or $60, like for, when we have people at town events, that's one thing.
If I may, I thought we kind of had been doing kind of just the cost of, it wasn't like a huge money making, cause we had pushback from the state,
Yeah.
well, we didn't, but
Yeah, it's what our internal
I was just
costs
gonna
are.
say,
Yes,
I don't think we could charge more than that, correct?
And when we met with town council last week, I specifically asked if we have to hold a public hearing, and you do not. So essentially, the cost that would be associated with this would be the legal review of the host community agreement. Attorney Costanzo recommended that we kind of fall in line with the license fees that we use for our liquor, common vic, those type of licenses to, because the state will look to make sure that it's reasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes
So
sense.
that would be either an application fee or a community impact fee that we would do that under? Or would that be?
That would be an application fee. The community impact fee is separate. That's essentially that fees that the town incurs to, you know, for security reasons or police details or things like that.
which used to be initially, they were sky high and towns were raking in money, and the state came back and actually ruled that some municipalities had to return a large portion of
You have to
the
prove
money.
what our actual costs are.
Right, and that's
to impose
that's
that.
per agreement, if I understood correctly.
So are we saying regardless of the party, we would wanna retain the fees to cover the costs of?
I mean, that's kind of where I am, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like we'd be looking to strike that number 5?
Given that we're just, I mean,
Yeah.
essentially only.
Right, we don't wanna lose money on doing
Right.
it, just,
Right.
cover those costs.
Has anybody done an evaluation? Cause I'm looking at number 3 here, under procedures. And it says, shall invite applicants who score a 60 or higher in the evaluation form. Well, normally 60 or 60 is a failing grade. You know, so I'm looking at 60 and going, wow, maybe that should be a little higher.
We're on the same wavelength. I was gonna add, now that I know that you were involved, if there's any way that you can kind of talk through how that scoring works, because it seems very, like, how do you award point? How do you determine what the point value
Right.
is? Because there's like nothing here as far as what's a 1, what's a 7.5.
So Attorney Costanzo said that that is at the board's discretion. So this was provided as a sample. The only requirement is that you have to keep 25 points for being a social equity business. All the other columns in the table, you guys can change those values as well as what you would like the minimum score to be.
But how do you determine, like, what, if I give somebody a 7.5 in one of the sections, what is that?
So she recommended that we go back to the RFP that we used initially because it had a pretty solid table of what that scoring criteria was. So she recommended that the board consider going back to that
Okay, alright, so can we?
as your template.
Can we have
Yep.
that as-
Yeah, we have to, we gotta drum it up. It was a while ago.
Okay.
We couldn't find it in time for the meeting.
Okay, no, that's good that we have that to go off of. My last question was on that procedure section number 6, on whether or not we want the HCA to be transferable or non-transferable.
This is a tricky one for me because I think of the number of businesses that, and not in town, but that have started out and then been purchased by a different business or whatever. So
If I may, as a frame of reference, liquor licenses, if they were to be transferred, have to go back through the state and follow the reapplication process.
I think I agree with that. I think the challenge has been the backlog that the CCC has had recently, historically. And so to have, I would hate for a successful business
To close
to close
temporarily.
even temporarily, to lose those regular customers because of state issues. So I don't know if there can be language around something about as long, like, that it needs to be an entity in good standing or something dictate, like, because I guess it could even be a new company, right, that hasn't had hasn't
Right.
necessarily had experience. I don't know how to frame it, but I would hate for there to be a long lapse, and lose a customer base because of that. Cause I know that there's been a few that have changed hands seamlessly and nobody, you know, they haven't missed a beat, nobody has known, like, whatever, it's been more on the backside of things. And so I would hate to,
I agree with you on some of that, Leah.
Mhm.
I think the process for taking over the business, if it starts early enough, they should be able to get their ducks in an order. You can correct me if I'm wrong. They should be able to get their ducks in order. So we don't have to go through the whole process of being a transferable. What bothers me is, number one, I don't believe we do a tax data, go deep on their taxes. Are they caught up on their taxes? Do they do all that if we're gonna make it transferable? How long have they been in business otherwise? Is that stuff what we go through? And if we don't, that's what makes me question whether we want to make it transferable or not. Unless we can get the deep dive on that company, that would concern me.
Okay.
and I think that there's been a couple in West Boylston that have transferred. I don't know if we can, if Attorney Costanza, Costanzo, sorry, can look at how that had worked, because I believe that those were seamless transfers to the public, and I don't know the time frame on the back end of things.
Do they have to go through the same process as a regular company for an HCA? In other words, I wanna buy it, I'm gonna go through the whole state process, everything. It's just that now that I have all that, you're gonna transfer over to me and we don't have to worry about me basically starting the whole plan all over again. Going out and doing marketing, doing all this
Right.
stuff for the company.
Yep.
I guess that's my other question too.
And essentially, that's what happened with our first awarded HCA was because Rutland was on the slower side of things, the company that we were originally awarded to had reached their state maximum number of HCAs. And so then we had to put out another RFP and essentially have a restructured entity
Right.
reapply, which prolonged the process
Even more.
even more. So I'm looking at it from kind of both sides as to,
I think the whole process of this is the state's trying to make it a one-stop shop, streamlined process. The amount of stuff that's gonna go on the town website is amazing. And they're looking for, speedy application process
Yep.
and lessen that, so.
so I agree with Harry in the sense that we wanna make sure that they're
Yep.
like a legit entity and everything, but if we can do that without
Yep.
stopping the process.
Just a discussion, transfer of any HCA shall require the prior written approval of the select board, provided however, that changes in ownership shall require a new HCA at the discretion of the select board. So does that mean that the select board can approve a transfer without changes in ownership? I don't understand that statement, I guess.
No, I think the way it's written is saying that a transfer in ownership would require a new HCA, and the question is whether or not we want to have that as stated or
Well,
make it transferable.
changes in
the HCA.
ownership shall require a new HCA.
Right.
But it says, but transfers only need prior written approval of the select board. Provided however, that change shall require a new HCA. So we gotta require a new HCA before we can even give prior approval of the transfer. I don't understand.
We'll get clarification on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, the way it is.
I really didn't see
trying to
too much
understand
else.
that, actually.
Yeah, now that I'm reading through it, it is a little.
I mean, I took it as it would need to be approved by the select board to transfer, and that any changes in ownership
Now requires a new HCA.
at the discretion of the
Right.
select board though,
Right.
so it is saying like, it doesn't have to come to that if the
Right.
select board doesn't want it to.
Right, okay.
I'm still a little bit confused
Yeah.
on that, like I don't actually understand that,
It could
but
be a question of how transfers work versus change in ownership.
Yeah.
Cause it could be like an entity based,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
and then the comment is actually confusing me even further, cause that's inferring that that statement is saying that it wouldn't be transferable,
Yeah.
their comment. That's their comment, right, that.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Is there a difference between the red comments and the blue, like, is that just, no?
No, it was just how it printed.
Yeah, that's fine, I didn't know if the red comments was like you guys and the blue was them, or,
and
No,
I
everything's legal.
yeah,
I
okay.
think that should go to the town administrator's office, to the town administrator, attention town administrator. And I think we had talked about keeping the application fee in line with our
This is someone else.
other application fees
Someone else.
makes sense also, so I'm not sure, I don't have that schedule off the top of my head, but somewhere in that range. I was just saying, Tamika, that I think
I was not listening to that part.
keeping it to town administrator to me makes sense, attention town administrator for any applications. And then keeping the application fee, essentially the cost of the application fees for our other licenses. I don't know off the top of my head what makes sense based on the amount of
Yeah.
time and everything that would need to go into any sort of legal review, but somewhere in that reasonable range. To ensure that we're covering
Our costs,
expenses.
yeah, yeah.
I could see the value of the town administrator, but we've got him doing so much, and now we're gonna ask him to do this again. My problem is, I don't know who else we'd ask.
Well, and I think this is just, this is who it's gotta, who the attention is going to, so it would still be him like kind of organizing everything, working with, right, not necessarily doing everything, so.
Yeah, they're just the one getting it, and
Right.
then they're delegating
Point
it
of contact.
appropriately.
Right.
You have the RFP? You can send it out so I can,
The original one?
no, the original one, so we can,
The
cause it
scoring.
Oh,
references
absolutely,
the
yes.
scoring.
Yes,
so I can
absolutely, yep,
look through, and
Absolutely.
I mean, not everything gets a 7.5,
right,
so
yep.
that's right, okay.
Yeah, cause it kinda gave you examples of, low, medium and high, how to score the rubric,
Okay.
yeah.
And I think honestly, department heads are accustomed to scoring a lot of different criteria, so it's kind of like I might give something a 5, you might
Yeah.
give it a 3,
Right.
somebody else might give it a 6, but the average is what
Right,
the average
exactly.
is,
Yep.
like.
So we don't really have to set the point system tonight? We don't have
No.
to discuss it?
No,
Okay,
no,
okay, I thought that was suggested that we do that.
I think that addressed all the comments and questions.
Yeah, that was helpful, cause it gives us something to go back to town council to work with. And then, I'm sure Attorney Costanzo can help us, once you guys review that former scoring system, cause that was her recommendation as well.
Okay.
So we can put something together that makes sense for you guys to review.
And you did state that we were gonna try and get them to attend that meeting to answer
So
questions.
my question to you is, we have CMRPC scheduled that night to talk to us about the HR study. So I don't know if you wanna do both on the same night, or if you'd rather push this discussion to the first meeting in November. Or if you wanna flip-flop the two, just let us know what you guys would prefer.
I guess I mean, we're already behind on this, so waiting another 2 weeks if we need time to let some of this
wasn't-
sink in.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we wanted to get comments back and if there was anything else that kind of, after we see the scoring
Sure.
rubric and everything, if there was any more red flags, that gives us an opportunity to have a little bit more discussion at our next meeting, and then that first
Yep.
meeting, if we can have KP there and to hopefully do the approval
Yeah.
at that meeting.
okay, great.
Does that,
Nope,
Is
that
that-
works. Is that?
Can do that.
Okay. Alright, anything else on that?
thank you guys for working on that.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you. Alright, that is the end of our new business. Are there any future agenda requests from board members? kind of talked about a couple of the topics.
I know we have a lot coming up and I don't wanna push it right now, but I had asked back in the summer about looking at the Wachusett regional, or the school district, but especially the Wachusett kind of working group policy that we had started working with, and I think it kind of just sat with us as a board and never went out beyond to see if there was even any interest from other select boards of Wachusett, so if we can fit that in at some point. I realize, like I said, our next couple meetings especially, but I don't want it to totally fall apart.
What did we call that again?
The
It was a
Wachusett
working
leadership
group.
group or
Oh,
working
yeah,
group?
Leadership
Yeah.
group, I think.
Okay, yep, we can bring that back around. Anything else for now?
Okay, no.
Our upcoming meetings, we have, an off-night meeting on October 20th that, again, is for the public hearings for the street acceptance requests. Another off-night meeting next Thursday, October 23rd, is to review the town, meeting warrant articles, make recommendations and, review placement. And then back on our regularly scheduled meeting night for October 27th. Is there anything else to come before the board before we adjourn to executive session? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for reason number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, subject to DPW union negotiations, Ask Me Council 93. And reason number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, subject discussion of contracts under MGL Chapter 41, Section 108, Section 108 N and a half, Section 1080, town administrator, town accountant, fire chief, police chief, treasurer, collector.
So moved.
Not to return to open session.
Not to return to open session, thank
So
you.
moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Alright, roll call, Alex.
Vote aye.
Second eye.
Whitman, aye.
That's enough.
Ledger, aye.